The morning the kina, I think I call Martin at 2 months, in the morning, Jiffan King, he one night the hour. Over me,
Comrades, we would like to categorically clarify that the student vacation party is not in a revolutionary competition with any Muslim or Moronic institutions.
So, reactionary tendency, reactionary tendency, reactionary tendency, moribund institution.
When young brothers who are completely clueless and ignorant about the suffering and decadence of our people want to catapult and suddenly fight into the historic state of the University of Liberia, melt in the cardinal of Subana decay.
I was on my way, but some elders talked to me and they said I should stop not to go there to disrupt the public program. The old man having a big program today. They said they're facing a school. I was on my way and they are spoken to me, the former county inspector, regional man, and some stakeholders are spoken to me. They said I should say I shouldn't go there. Then yesterday the police stopped me from going to Ganta because they say I shouldn't go down to the senator leave Ganta. What making us angry is that the senator is taking a wrong role. He has destroyed his generation. He has destroyed the generation next to him. They have no voice in the county politics or anything. Then we, the young ones that are coming on, he's trying to bring confusion among us. Simple thing, we all went to a PMC election where we wanted to be elected. I came here with my last money. And you learn in my beat to meet with 34 paramedics to be able to meet with 34 paramedics, 19 district commissioner or 6 titles, 6 all of these things require money. And the 19 youth leader and women leader, these were the voting delegates. Therefore, also going in the hall, the old man told us, with us, all the contestants, Chaka will call you inside for the election. When we got us in less than 1 minute, he just called a thing. In 1 minute, before we get inside, he said the election for the night, he called up the program. We want to call in 1 minute. We can provide a video in 1 minute election. They got the 918 now introduced. I said nothing. He told the chief and elder there, who was there, said we ready to vote. He said he counted them 1, 2, 3, 4. He said the benefit winning. The old man left the hall. We went to court with it. Then he got a man to call the judge and said him throw the case. He himself conducted the election in 1 minute. He himself conducted the election in 1 minute. No, the issue is that we all campaign for the delegates. The delegates were the voters. But surprisingly, the senator refused. He put on us and said, yo, wait, whether I'll call you. In less than 1 minute, whereby I don't know whether he sent tell message to a group or what. He just called them and installed them in 1 minute time. So the thing got off, we went to court. Now he threatened the judge that if you try, we don't want to get easy government. I don't want anything of that judge to do it. So if you try it, they will sack you. So they say we can't get, I told him, say we can't get or justice in the court. Now you say that you desire even a faith in the court. Our president and 2 hours would die together. That's where the problem came from. Yeah. Oh, but I don't want to tell you, I'm going to say Jesus. I wanted to go there. Like that came in one time because I'm a man with family. We all support that CDC. The senator I refuse to get small job. He always call me by name. He had those of all who came from AUD background, the senator blacklisted us. He had not given us anything. And with that, we ourselves, we are family people with dying story. And when you go to our empire center join him here, you will not get it. I supported the CDC. He and now all of us supported the CDC. I'm not a member of it.
I would like to talk to my junior brother, Senator Dillon. Senator Dillon, I want you to know that you are not open with the TRC report. Every time you see me come in, no, when you were speaking, you didn't say order. When you were speaking, you did not say order. Whenever time you see me, you talk about what I must tell you, the people of Nimba were declared enemy of the state. They were being butchered or slaughtered like chickens and goats, and we have to defend ourselves to survive today. Deal with the issue that is on the floor. Deal with the issue on the agenda. But this boy who has his own record of gazing, who's a boy? You know him. No. Then every time he sees me, he talk about walk around co. Prince Johnson, walk around co. When you see me, I want you, Mr. Pro Tem, give me a time, set a special date. I will brief the Senate. I will elect you. I will teach you. I will tutor you by using the Barrow TRC that justice was not done to. It's full of fraud, irregularities. This is why the commission divided into two.
You get bring her to go see to the mainland too.
Oh, so the man wanted for you to go see from the web post too.
Yeah, he said I'm joining to go see to the web mainland too. They get money into the store, they will go take it from there. I said, "Mama, I'm only bad for the same lecture."
Then how can the people catch you now?
The people before the man call me back. Now on the 18th, they more.
The same man now.
Yeah, the same man.
The same man who want for you to go see.
Yeah, he called me on the 18th.
Yeah.
Now in around about 8:30, the man called me. He said, "Oh, my man, I'll let you be there and call you back again."
So that time you go to work?
I go to work.
You leave from your working place, you come to the man.
Yeah, I'm from to my working area to Clarence to now go to the man.
To go see now.
No, I'm not go see. I go to yeah. How you question me, man? Anything you want for me to explain for you to understand? Then still questioning me. Double in the question, how many talk clear now?
I beg it, sorry.
I say,
when
they make me in there, he asked me, say, how many of you are working to the area? I say, we are 3.
You told the message you're 3.
Yeah. So he said, I want to give you tea to carry to
the message you want to give you what?
Tea. Have milk tea.
Oh, milk tea.
Yeah.
For you to drink
with bread.
The bread.
3 pieces of full bread.
With egg inside.
With egg inside my butter. So when I carry it to the man, say carry it to the man. When you give it to the man, then you must come back to the car.
So the food make you now you carry now so you can go convince your friend now.
Yeah. When I give it to the man, the man say thank you. I say okay. The man say, oh, where you going now? I say, oh, I'm going right car. So one of my friends called me.
And the same man you going to now?
Yeah, the same man.
The man say want for you to go steal.
No, yeah. So when I go to the man, he say clean the car. Then they are 2 now. In a G. Then they are 2.
A big Debo.
Yeah. Black big G. Photo G. Yeah. So when I clean the car now,
air condition all inside.
No, Papa, you can't wait for me to spin now. I'll leave the whole town now. You can judge people.
I just asking you a question, sorry.
You can judge people like you can here.
No, I'm a journalist. I beg you, sorry.
The way you talk in the question, you say when I move from here, I'll free. You say when I move from here, I'll free. You said one talk again. I wanted to make a whole talk clear to you, but double in the question. Hi, looking, then you want force and no more word there again. Why not be looking to the top? I'm not going to again. And said they call me to the office. I go explain.
He explained to me that you come to get paid. You say you carry tea to the man. After you carry tea to the man, and you come now. So what next now?
For me, I will not fair.
Nobody, you getting very. You say asking you too much question. Hey, that's me. Things say make your egg and bread. You bring it. Okay, sorry. Now I say sorry now. Okay, sorry.
If you,
I will not ask you the question again. Okay, sorry.
When I give you answer now, then you.
Okay. Explain again. I'm not asking you no more question again. Okay, let's go ahead now.
Go to school. The English say I need the English.
Okay, sorry. Now I say sorry. No, sorry.
See, Ali, you take time. You take time.
I'm taking time. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Say I can take time to
explain. Yeah, okay.
Musa Belete stole 180,000 in tax money from the Liberian government, for which he was dragged to court 2010. 2012, he was announced convicted. This is the man also condemned by FIFA as a fraudster. This is the man who is in the midst of the CPP, and the CPP is now throwing what I call a cordon sanitaire around him. Now, if you have a guy who is a potential contaminant and you have it in your midst, what do you think will happen? He will contaminate everybody. You know, this man is a walking corruption virus. Anything he comes in contact with, anything he touches, he contaminates. The CPP will be contaminated very soon because my own Liberty Party is now contaminated. People in the Liberty Party who took Pico Trust from Ability today, they are defending him up and down the country. They are defending, even though they know Mr. Ability was condemned by FIFA for 10 years as a fraudster, even though they know Mr. Ability was convicted of tax evasion, fraud. They still defending him because he was able to get them Pico Trust.
Oh, and no matter what is the fact that it was through a kind generosity and he brought him to prominence, I will always give him that credit. Okay, I will always give him that credit, and And I hope wheresoever he is, God will continue to stand with him. Okay? And when you ask the question, what I'm missing, yes, I miss as a friend, as a brother, as a father. So, and all I want is that just to be given to
restitution, make sure that people give back that which they stole from the people to rebuild this country, to provide life. Today we are in a situation with this pandemic. Where do we stand? Where are the drugs? I mean, we just right around here. Look at the misery in which people live. Look at the roads. Look at, you go to red light. Is that the kind of country that you want to be in? One of the things that I read and always touches me when they ask people what country you want to be born into. All of us want to go to beautiful places. I'm one person. Everything good I see elsewhere, I say, I wish they were in Liberia. I do not enjoy things other countries. And so what do you want is to enjoy life in other people's country. When you come home, you can't even measure up. And why is that happening? Do we lack talent? No. We have a lot of talented people. Are people not working hard? They are. But should somebody else tell the people just work and forever be at their gate? That's not a way of life. And so you should be able to account for that confidence that you say is reposing you to serve the people. You should tell them what you did or what they entrust.
Politics is not stagnant, it's revolving. If I said this in the past about almost a year ago, and somebody decided to bring the cassette of oath today, it does not have any effect on our desire to endorse Honorable Jeremiah Cole on Wednesday. This Wednesday, we are going to go to Ganta in a number, hundreds of people to endorse Honorable Jeremiah Cole as our candidate for the MDR. That's what I know. Well, if I say, look, I don't want to eat GB right now, and then after an hour, I decide to eat, my stomach is okay, can I come in the GB and eat? Politics is not stagnant, I just told you. He has been, he's developmentally inclined on the ground, he got his any work all over the places in his district, in other areas. He's doing remarkably well, and so we will endorse him. All of the candidates that are running is the only MDR candidate that the CDC government will have to endorse also, because we're collaborating with them. The propagandists that recorded me secretly when I was speaking my mind at that time,
Musa
they decided to bring it up today. It's up to them.
180,000 in tax money from the Liberian government, for which he was dragged to court 2010. 2012, he was announced convicted. This is the man also condemned by FIFA as a fraudster. This is the man who is in the midst of the CPP, and the CPP is now throwing what I call a cordon sanitaire around him. Now, if you have a guy who is a potential contaminant and you have it in your midst, what do you think will happen? He will contaminate everybody. This man is a walking corruption virus. Anything he comes in contact with, anything he touches, he contaminates. The CPP will be contaminated very soon, because my own Liberty Party is now contaminated. People in the Liberty Party who took Pico Trust responsibility today, they are 80,000 in tax money from the Liberian government, for which he was dragged to court 2010. 2012, he was announced convicted. This is the man also condemned by FIFA as a fraudster. This is the man who is in the midst of the CPP, and the CPP is now throwing what I call a cordon sanitaire.
I like it.
Now, if you have a guy who is a potential,
I like it. Oh yes, a beautiful Friday morning in Monrovia, in Liberia, as a matter of fact. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you, and welcome to this morning's presentation of the Morning Breeze. And I like the way I called it breeze. With me, Fidel Saydee, and of course I have a companion this morning. Not the one that will talk along with me on the show usually, but he's here this Friday morning, and together we route you on the Morning Breeze. And as always, we give you traffic tips, how the traffic is like in various parts of Monrovia. We get our contacts, our motivational quote, and of course the African proverbs. And so our motivational quote this morning says, life has got all those twists and turns. Life has got all those twists and turns. An indication that life is not just a perfect slope. It has break ups and make ups. And our African proverb for this morning says, if you want to know the end, look at the beginning. If you want to know the end, look at the beginning. Yeah, most of us look at where we fell instead of where we stumbled our toes, all the objects that we stumble upon. And so welcome to the program this morning. Again, if you're coming from Douala, be aware that around the Freeport area, just as you cross the intersection there's a big rock in the middle of the road. Apparently, the road construction that is ongoing, rocks have been transported, and one or two may have fell along the road. There's another one right before Nafa. Yeah, right before Nafa, there's another one there, so be very careful if you're driving this morning. But the traffic is building up around the beer factory area as usual at this hour. Of course, you'll notice a bit of traffic. And around the Dupo Road area, like I said, because that road has been blocked or has been blocked. And so you will notice a bit of traffic there as well, okay? And Painesville, on the ELWA area, there's a bit of traffic piling up. The 540 area, there's a bit of traffic piling up there as well. And around that's All Road. Just before you get to Vamoma, there's a bit of traffic piling up as well. So be mindful, be careful of these. The Somalia Drive, of course, is a bit clear. Not the traffic has not started building up yet, but you should anticipate that there will be traffic there. Either this morning or other part of the day, but just be careful about that. And so we have 30 minutes to be with you this morning, because at 8 o'clock we join Prime FM, where the political leader of the movement for progressive change, Simeon Freeman, will be simulcasting his appearance on Prime FM this morning. And so from 8 to 10 o'clock, well, it's paid for, by the way. No worries. So we take our contacts, but before then, Anthony Jiffan is the man with me this morning. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Fidel. I'd like to say good morning to our listeners this morning. It's a pleasure to be here. The debut on the Morning Breeze.
Well, I wanted to have said that. Thankfully, you've said it. It's your debut on the Morning Breeze. How does it feel? You used to the afternoon.
Well, yes, but it's always said that an army man is always prepared for war, whether in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon. So
yeah, I know. A lot of things going on right now in like the area. Yes, but let's establish contact with our contacts across the country. Then we come back. We got enough time yet this morning, Jiffan.
Yes,
we don't have enough time.
So we have to manage time.
Yeah, we are trying to manage time. Let's get to our local contacts right now, where we've heard that elders and chiefs in okay, that's the part of it I don't like. We've heard that elders and chiefs of Wahasa district in have agreed to support the re-election bids of Representative Julie Fatoma and President George Weah. So let's establish contact with our man Samuel Bole there in Lofa County to bring up to speed. It seems like he's not ready since time is not in our favor. Let's run to Grand Crew County, where Frederick Kume is, to tell us exactly what about this thing. About this thing of
Liberia Media Democratic Initiative.
Yeah, I mean they've ended that workshop with the Central Bank of Liberia, but the people of Klibo communities in Electoral District Number 2, Grand Crew County, said they've resolved to support the re-elections of President Weah, Councillor Fonati Kofa, and that of Senator Albert Chie.
Do you have
Yes, I have.
Samuel Bole is on the line.
Okay, Samuel has to hold on. Let's take Frederick Kumen from Grand Crew County. Frederick, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to the people of Liberia.
Kindly do us a favor by getting away from your monitor.
Yeah, okay.
By the way, which medium are you listening to us through?
I'm listening to you through Athena Radio. Usually sometimes we relay some of the platform, on the social media like Facebook.
Okay, so Athena Radio is actually relaying the show.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now tell us, what is this information about the people of Klibo communities? I've noticed that Klibo is added. Communities is added to Klibo. Is it a section in Grand Crew County?
Yeah, Klibo community is a section in Grand Crew County, and it's one part of Backleville, where the Senate Pro Temporary Albert Tubachi, the Deputy Speaker, Councillor Fonati Kofa, and that of the President of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Mana, we have 6 re-elections.
Before you go ahead, Frederick, just get away from that disturbance in the background.
Okay. I'm there. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead as you were proceeding.
Yeah, so the President of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, the Senate Pro Temporary Albert Tubachi, and that of the Deputy Speaker, Councillor Fonati Kofa, have fought to seek re-elections the presidential legislative elections of Liberia. So the people of the Flow community are resolved talking on the various social media pages that they are resolved to re-elect Councillor Kofa, President George Manawia, and that of the Deputy Speaker, and that of the Senate Pro Tempore Albert Tukwechi. Recently, the Senate Pro Tempore Tukwechi donated some amount of $50,000 Liberian dollars to the Plebo community, and are currently constructing a cash hall at Topo community to be used for the Plebo community, in the sense that maybe if a stranger will come to lodge there, they will take the benefit. So they have been very instrumental, taking on some of the major projects in the county. We are in the Deputy Speaker, Councillor Kofa, constructed 32 hand pumps in the county. The Senate Pro Tempore constructed schools, and now the president is carrying on the double chip quota project in Granville County. So looking at all of those things, the people are now resolved. They are excited to re-elect their sons and daughters in the county.
Now, have there been additional reasons given for this early declaration of support for the re-election base of these individuals?
Well, so if you look in Granville County today, the people see that as a privilege, wherein the president of Liberia, Dr. George Manawia, is the son of the county. The Senate Pro Tempore, Abachia, is the son of the soil also, and that of the Deputy Speaker is also the son of the soil.
Okay.
So the people of Granville County cannot afford to lose 3 of their sons in the government of Liberia. Many, they will be doing harm to the country. So based on their developmental achievements, they are now proud that indeed with their sons in the government, there is a way that the country can be placed on the map of developmental counties like Nimba and other counties in Liberia.
Okay, Frederick, we have to leave it at that. No time. Thank you so much for filling us in from Granville County, and thanks to Atina Radio for relaying the program this morning.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Okay, he's Frederick Coleman there in Granville County. Thanks to Atina Radio. So to our folks listening through Atina Radio, we'd like to say good morning to you in Granville, southeastern Liberia. Samuel Bole is currently on the line, and again, there's been a support to the re-election bid of President George Weah and Representative Julie Fatoma. Samuel, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Let me say good morning to our entire listeners. Alofa Kante is okay this morning.
Okay, tell us, why are these elders and chiefs supporting the re-election bids of these individuals?
Well, you got it right. It was recently on Wednesday when we paid a visit to Wahasa District, when the elders and also the chief of Wahasa District petitioned Honorable Judy Fatoma Weah and other President Weah for the re-election comes October. And according to the Paramount Chief Honorable Body, so what he said, well, matter of fact, the petition came about numerous of development, the both party have carried, with Judy Fatoma, representative for District 2, have carried in Wahasa bed. And even there was the primary position dispute saying the creation of Wahasa District, but because of role she played, now the primary position have been laid to rest, where the two parties are fighting for the position. The other person, Sadi Akone, agreed to be the development chairman, and he now is the current primary of Wahasa District. And also, majority of the towns and villages you enter in Wahasa District, you will notify that Honorable Judy Fatoma had touched either the town hall or the school building, or have been sending some of those children to school for free of charge. And again, according to the primary chief, he said, well, low far to be precise, Wahasa have been noticed, the manager have been noted to support the sitting government. If it can be recalled, 2017, the Bani chief don't vote for the former vice president more than even 4 years. He is saying, well, matter of fact, it deemed necessary to stand by the current government again to see how they can give the second chance to them. And some of the other disclosed that, well, they have more sons and daughters from the Bani portion who want to contest in District 2. And based on that, it deemed necessary to see, well, they cannot do any selective among them. All of them can try their luck, but they have deemed it necessary to petition on Judy Fatoma Weah to see how she can be re-elected.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samuel. It was nice having you on. Thanks for filling us in. Samuel Bola there in Lofa County, where the elders and chiefs of Wahasa district have agreed to support the re-election bids of President George Weah and Representative Julie Fatoma Weah. Okay, Prince Wamplo is our man there in Grand Bassa County, and we are told that the head of the Christian Association of the Visually Impaired in Grand Bassa County has vowed to reject election, what they refer to as election nearing humanitarian politicians. We need to get a detailed explanation about that. Prince, it's nice having you on the line this morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Fidel, and good morning to our many listeners.
What is this thing about election nearing humanitarian politicians?
What's it correct? The Christian Association of the Blind chairperson in the Grand Bassa County, Robert Quado, termed it that way as electioneering humanitarian politician. And his explanation, he said that they are politicians who only turn out during election period. They will come in with a donation. They want to cater to the old folks, but right after the election, they are nowhere to run. So he termed it as electioneering humanitarian politician. And this time around, the Christian Association of the Blind, they are prepared to reject people of such, but people who are in the interest of the Christian Association of the Blind, be it during election or not, are the people who got to get attention to this coming election.
Okay, now, I mean, why are they jittering about these people that they've categorized this way?
Well, Fidel, this is a normal tradition in Liberia politics that, and Grand Bassa is no exception for that. Politicians will actually remember people with disability during election period or when there's election on hand. You see them running for support, showing concern to the people with disability. But this is something that the people of Grand Bassa, the disabled community in Grand Bassa, kind of say this should not be the case. We are all human. We all share the universal right. We're all equal. So if that's the case, if you want to assist me, it should be during a normal process, not just only because you want for me to gather people to vote for you, or you want my vote, or the disabled community to vote. No, what should happen is that always cater to me, always turn out to help in need, not just during for the election period. So that's the reason why they are very clear about that, and they are not going to give much attention no matter what's going to come from these politicians. They are not going to consider it as something from their heart, because they always see them during election period. But there are other people, like they are considered the first leader of the Republic of Liberia as somebody who understands the issues of the people with disability, the old folks in Grand Bassa County, like the old folks who been conscripted are 99% in Buchanan, is something that they have created very high, because she has that's not an issue about just building old for home, but sometimes she's always in bias of visiting the people with disability, the Christian Association of the Blind. So yes, they see as somebody that they have interest in and they want to see her around often, but not like people who only want to come to them and give them rights, 6-7 back of rights today and leave. But she has set a very good record, and that's a legacy, a memory one for them with disability that they have somewhere so unique into the sleep at night.
Then quickly, Prince, from your own readings, how serious are these people with their statement?
Well, what is clear here is that there have been several statements from the Christian Association of the Blind. Some came to fruition, some did not, based upon the condition. But this time around, what they are saying is that far away from just the presidential candidates, but especially representative candidates who are living with the ambassador, who are making business, who are doing other things, they don't show all to them. So that's the message is sending, that if you don't show us to us while we're living together and it's not election time, we'll definitely reject it. And from my own analysis is that the Christian Association of the Blind in Buchanan and that of the one in compound number 2 and compound number 3, they are speaking with one voice, that they are going to reject them. Not to say we don't want the thing, but they're going to say, boarding the face, that do not always come to us
when you want re-election
during election period, but they should do it far beyond election period or before election period.
Thank you so much, Prince Wamplo there in Grand Bassa County. It was nice having you on the line, Prince.
Always a pleasure, Fidel.
Okay, Jiffan?
Are we going to Nimba County?
Yes, let's get to Nimba.
I'm told the commander of the Liberia Immigration Service
Mhm.
is complaining, uh, calling for logistics. I don't know what is happening
Mhm.
there. Joseph Kula is reporting from there. Let's get on to Joseph. Joseph Kakula
So,
is in Nimba County.
so are you trying to establish contact? At 8 o'clock this morning, we joined Prime FM for a simulcast of Simeon Freeman's appearance there, and it runs from 8 to 10 o'clock, 2 hours. It's been paid for. It's a paid for program. So since you can't get him, remember yesterday it was reported on social media that one of the students involved in the manhandling, the reported manhandling of Eloshus Howard had been suspended. And so let's establish contact with the vice president for UL relations, Honorable Norris Tue, to confirm this information. Let me see. Okay. Do I have him? And later we will speak with the Assistant Secretary General of the Student Unification Party at the University of Liberia. And of course, I had to wake Honorable Tue up as early as this morning, because what we intend to do on this platform is to give all sides of the story the opportunity to be heard. And so Vice President Norris Tue is currently on the line. Good morning, Mr. Tue. Welcome to the Morning Breeze on ABC Radio.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be on the Morning Breeze.
Yeah, breeze. By the way, how is the University of Liberia holistically?
Well, the academic semester is proceeding quite well, except that sometimes we are distracted embarrassingly so by some of our students and others who try to make the learning environment and experience of students and others unpleasant and uncomfortable. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why you are calling.
Definitely. Now, tell us.
Generally,
yeah, go ahead.
We're fast approaching the end of the semester. Final exams will be subsequently administered throughout the university system. And we are also anticipating a successful 103rd commencement convocation, where we are estimating that well over 2,000 students will be graduating from the University of Liberia.
That's great. Now, tell us, what is this report about the suspension of student Prince Bayu in relations to the incident on the day before yesterday?
Well, the statement was issued yesterday by the President, Dr. Nelson. It is a statement preliminarily to assure the public that the university campuses remain free for all, and no one particular individual or group of individuals must create chaos and inhibit the free movement of individuals who come on our campuses. This particular statement is in response to not just only the incident which happened last week involving one Mr. Eloshus Howe, who has been, associated with the university for a long time. Unfortunately, Mr. Howe was attacked, was echoed, was extorted. There is video evidence to that effect by a group of students while he was visiting the campus of the University of Liberia, particularly on our Capitol Hill campus. We also have, at the same time, we're also conducting investigation on a previous attack, as well as on other attacks on individuals who've come to the campus either to participate in a formal program or who've come on the campus to interact with friends, colleagues, and get information. It has become an embarrassing phenomenon, and we believe as the custodian of the university, it is our job to ensure that there is safety, there is peace, there is equanimity on our campus. Anyone, whether you're a student or not, who tries to inhibit and make the campus unsafe will be dealt with. That's why the president issued that statement suspending this student prince bless. You know, the student middle name has bless inside. And it's so ironic that a person that has bless in his name is being associated with violence, with disturbance. It is sad. It is heartbreaking. And we are upset about it because this tendency of heckling and intimidating and throwing rocks and physical assault to students has the propensity to smell the image of our great institution.
Now, Honorable Toye, does this action mean that he will still be subjected to investigation?
Well, revised your student handbook gives the Vice President of Student Affairs the authority to institute immediate interim suspension of anyone who is alleged to have been associated with a breach of some of the provisions of the student handbook. Immediately after that, that person will be called for an investigation, and that's something we recognize. Before we take a final decision, we must investigate. We must confront you with the evidence. We must ask you questions. So we are concerned about due process. And after that, the decision will be taken and will be made public to the larger library society. We have a number of our students who are being investigated. The suspended individual is said to be the rank leader of some of the past violent actions on our campus.
Okay, so which in essence means we could see other students being run up as well.
But listen, we are absolutely very serious about this. This is not an attempt to wither down the magnitude and the scope of the unscrupulous and barbaric and inhumane actions that are often perpetrated by some of our students and others on our campuses. We as the administration led by Dr. Nelson, we are decidedly convinced that unless we mete out the strongest and stiffest punishment prescribed in our student handbook, campuses of the University of Liberia will be ungovernable. We are now getting indications that others will not come to our campus because they do not feel safe, and we agree. And so the administration is going to ensure that those individuals who do not want to learn, who do not want to inculcate knowledge, who do not want to be taught, who believe the university campus is a ground for imputing chaos, who are not academically entrusted in the coordination of knowledge, who want to turn our campus into a violent zoo, and who are unable to engage intellectually. Listen, you don't have to agree with anyone. I mean, I was a student over there, many, many years ago, and we were sometimes dissatisfied with people who came over campus. We engaged them intellectually. We have a palaver hut that is there, it is empty, and if people come on the campus and you're not, you want to engage them, invite them on the palaver hut, ask questions, and let them explain.
Okay.
But to run behind them and heckle them, roar, and think you are embarrassing, you're embarrassing yourself. It just shows your ignorance
Okay.
It just shows your sense of illiteracy. And the university is a place we call the microcosm of the larger society. We are the light in that.
Okay,
So
Honorable
it's
Tua, we'll
not
find some time.
disheartening.
We'll find some time to expand on this, but we have a program coming up, paid for program, so we have to let you go. Thank you so much for picking our calls this morning, and we look forward to further interacting with you.
The pleasure is obvious, my young man.
Okay, thank you. He's Norris Tue. He's the vice president for UL Relations at the University of Liberia. Shortly, when we get signal from our guys, we will definitely join Prime FM for that Simoncast this morning. Jiffan.
Yes, I think, are we talking to the assistant secretary of SOUP? Okay, so, but I listened to Honorable Tue. I was about to ask him whether on what basis was the guy suspended, but he made it clear that the university holds all authority to suspend and subject that person to investigation until otherwise. So we will talk to the assistant secretary general of a SOUP. Lawrence is on the line. Lawrence Tue. Lawrence, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning to the people of Liberia. Let me also say good morning to the ideological militants and starvers of the indomitable output and good Banga's Unification Party.
Well, Lawrence, you're talking to Anthony, but you live on the Morning Breeze. One of your members, Prince Bayou, has been suspended by the University of Liberia for allegedly attacking an attack on one Alusha Howie.
Well, what I can say is that Prince Bayou as an individual has not received any suspension letter from the university to notify him that he has been suspended. And in any case of such a situation, we believe it is unjust, it is illegal, and it is unconstitutional. The accusation of Prince Bayou as an individual attacking one Lusha South, for the record, Prince Bayou was not on the Capitol campus of the University of Liberia when such an incident occurred. He doesn't go to school he goes to school morning, Wednesday, and Friday. And so the incident occurred on a Tuesday. So this brother was not even on campus when the incident occurred. So how can the University of Liberia accuse him of being the ringleader of those who attacked on a Lusha South when the brother was not even on campus? So we believe that an attempt to suspend Prince Bayou, it is a clever attempt to witch hunt him. It is illegal, it is unjust, and it violates his right to education, his right to due process.
Lawrence, I'm told that there are video footages showing that Prince was one of those who attacked Alushas.
Well, I also have the video. I've seen a lot of video in the public that show the incident occurred. And thanks to my detective skills, I've not seen Prince Bayou who I know, because there's a young man who myself and he and I attended high school together, so I know him very well. I cannot show anyone precisely in that video that shows Prince Bayou. So for people to accuse him of being on campus when the incident occurred, I think it's unfair and it's unjust. The university needs to do very well to properly look at the video. As much as the university wants to take action, we believe that such an action should come with clarity, it should come with honesty, and it should be within the best interest of the university.
Are you prepared? Are you prepared as a party to submit Prince for investigation?
The university already taken an action according to them, but we believe that action is unjust.
He has been suspended. He has been suspended.
Let me be very clear with my brother. That suspension is a mere shenanigan. It will be heavily resisted. It will be vehemently resisted.
Will he be available for investigation?
Of course, at the university for the brother investigation, no militants of the student education part will be afraid to go over the investigation when someone is accused of any crime whatsoever, and you are subject to the investigation. It is legally acceptable for you to go.
Okay.
So
All right. Thank you, Lawrence. Let's hope that you share the videos that you have with us let us do our investigation. Thank you for joining us this morning.
No problem. Thank you very much for having us.
Okay. Well, Lawrence Twa is the Assistant Secretary of the Student Unification Party there. He was talking to on the suspension of one of their members, Prince Bayu, for alleged attack on Aloysius. How? Well, Fidel.
Yes, we have to go, and of course, I'm on the panelist for the interview with.
So, Fidel, just before you go, I'd like to say happy birthday to.
Oh yes, today is the birthday of two of ours.
Patu Teteye, and I gave her a crew named Tanyano Rogers and Omar Salif, who celebrate their birthday on today. It's a wonderful thing. I'm always happy when I see people celebrating birthdays.
Well, those are memorable occasions. They're irreplaceable, once in a lifetime, and you can't replace it, bro. You just can't. Okay, so that's it. This morning we have to join our sister station for the summercast of the interview with Honorable Simeon Freeman this morning. Okay, so we'll go home on this Friday, and we'll be back Monday. On Monday, you will hear a female voice alongside me on the program.
10 o'clock.
Montserrat, Homie, Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, Rome, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM. Montserrat, Homie, Cape Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, Home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM. Montserrat, Homie, Cape Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, Home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM. I love ABC Radio. Montserrat, Homie, Cape Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, Home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
Let's see what they do. Let's trust that they will do a good job this time. Yeah, sure. So, Mr. Freeman, by the way, is right close by, so he will soon join us. But there was
Buffalo, Mangibi, Home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
To have peace in Africa, politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. United is all we need, and together must be the motto. United is all we need, and together must be the motto. Unite, let's live. live together. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Our mothers are tired of being raped by their own sons. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Our children are tired of living in poverty. We want peace in Africa, politicians. We are tired of living in starvation every day. We want peace in Africa, politicians. No food to read, no good clothes to wear every day. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Tribalism is all over in Africa, my people. We want peace in Africa, politicians. We deserve the right to be living in peace forever. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Unity is all we need. Reconciliation must be the motto. Unity is all we need. And together that must be the motto. Zairians, we want peace in Africa, politicians. Nigerians, we want peace in Africa, politicians. Sierra Leoneans, we want peace in Africa, politicians. Ivorians, we want peace in Africa, politicians. Liberians, we want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians. Politicians, African politicians. We want peace in Africa, politicians.
Montserrado, Pome, Cape Mount, Wapulu, Mangibi, Boom, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
They said they were freedom fighter. When they were coming, they said they were liberator. But when they kill their clan, they change their mind. When they kill their clan, they change their mind. What kind of people they sue? They are freedom fighters. What kind of people they sue? They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you raping our women. They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you killing our children. They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you destroying our country. They are freedom fighters. Ayo, 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 ayo. ayo, ayo. Ay, ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ay, ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ay, ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. When they were coming, they said they were liberator. When they were coming, they said they were liberator. But when they came here, they changed their mind. When they came here, they changed their mind. What kind of people they so? They are freedom fighters. What kind of people they so? They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you raping our women. They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you killing our children. They are freedom fighters. Freedom fighter, you destroying our country. They are freedom fighters. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Music. Aha. Wani makianya wala wa monyonyu weyan. Wani makianya wala wa monyonyu weyan. Yapana wa kuna ngira. Wasia wa bebia. Wana wa kuna konwa. Wasia wa bebia. Yena be monya be miaka. I'm a freedom fighter. Oh, I'm a new. I'm a freedom fighter. A freedom fighter, you need your job, your wasa. I'm a freedom fighter. A freedom fighter, you need your job, your baba. I'm a freedom fighter. A freedom fighter, you need your people. I'm a freedom fighter. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Wani makianya wara wa monyonyu weyan. Wani makianya wara wa monyonyu weyan. Ya wana wa kuna ngira. Wasia wa bebia. Wana wa kuna konwa. Wasia wa bebia. I'm a freedom fighter. 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 Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo.
Montserrado, Home, Cape Mount, Wapulu, Mangibi, Boom, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Antonio, Miss Royalty Baby, and I want everyone in Liberia to know that I love listening to
105.1 FM.
hotlbr.com.
of the move.
Montserrat, Homemade Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 Montserrat, Homemade Mount, Buffalo, Mangibi, home, and everywhere you go.
That is very critical time. Thanks for coming back. Jordan is here as well. Mr. Freeman,
yes, sir.
remember the last time we were at OKFM,
right,
on another interview.
Right.
Today you're here. It's always a good thing that you take up time to have these public engagements. Why do you find them so important?
We have to communicate with our people. We have to use one medium to speak to multiple mediums and to indicate to our people why we want to be president of Liberia and to engage with them. So we use multiple platforms, either directly or through the radio. And it's a good thing. If I were to appear only on Prime this morning, probably the listening audience of Prime will be listening. But the fact that we on multiple platforms, we have online televisions, we have multiple radio stations, enables us to tap on multiple platforms and multiple audiences using the same time frame.
And one would say you've been a bit quiet. Were you observing, the political terrain and putting together your bazookas, putting down points to see how you will come back strong?
Look, I'll tell you what, those who say that, I see where they're coming from. I respect that, I understand. But we have not been quiet. Basically, what we've been doing is we love Liberia and we want Liberia to succeed. And so the goal is not to, when Liberia elects a president, to jump on the radio and start criticizing that president or start engaging the president. So basically what you want is to see if the president will do everything or the government will do everything to succeed. If the government does not, then it creates the opportunity for you to. So you notice there's been a change in the trend. So in the beginning, we're practically proposing alternative ways, simple things like we've been talking over and over. It's very disappointing. Look, simple things like simple things like immigration to Liberia. Just making sure that anybody can get on a plane. They don't need visa and come to Liberia. That's going to help tourists in a whole lot. You don't need a legislation to do that. You just need an executive action to do that. And if those kinds of simple things cannot be done, the operation of the airport, we can run a common airport, then what's the basis for any hope in some kind of leadership? So we let too many simple things, low-hanging fruit. It's easy. It's difficult for somebody to say, you have not lifted our GDP up. Somebody could place multiple arguments. But the things that will lift the GDP is number of people coming to your country. Many of the rich countries on the African continent, whether it's Mauritius, Seychelles, these places, you go there visa-free. the whole of Africa, the whole world enter you don't even pay a visa fee. And what's their GDP in spite of the size of the population? Mauritius used to be 13 billion before, today is about 10. The population of Mauritius is about 1 million. Population of Liberia, 5 million. Their GDP right now is about 10, 11 hours, 3.4. Does that say something? It says quite a lot. Last year, Ghana made more than $2 billion from tourism. How much did we make? Practically nothing that can be counted for. So all I'm saying, when we cannot tackle these low-hanging fruits that create opportunity for our people, then it's really challenging.
You got exactly 7 months to October 10, Mr. Freeman. Have you now put yourself in a position that the Liberian people will see you as the alternative?
Oh yeah, clearly. We're speaking, we're working, we're reaching places, and we will be inviting you to many places where you will see the crowds that you want to see. I'm sure you're clearly judging on the basis of that.
No, not basically on that.
We're clearly beginning to do that. So yes, we position ourselves. And more importantly, when we're discussing Liberia, interestingly, there are two positions. You are behind the mark as an interviewer. I'm behind the mark as an interviewee. But interestingly, though, we are both concerned about the well-being of our country. We both want Liberia to prosper. Prime FN and the entire media landscape will not prosper if the country is not prospering. The reason why media in Nigeria prospers a lot more, the reason why they're much bigger is probably not because they do it differently, but it's because of the size of the economy. So if the economy of our country prospers, then the media prospers. So I think we must look at it not just from the standpoint of interviewing a politician, but we must look at it from the standpoint of what does the media contribute to the landscape. So I think as we have these kinds of substantive engagements, people like you in the media must give us helping hand and elevate the soundness of our deposition and not just the desires that we have. Anybody can want to be president or leader, but what are you bringing to the table? And I think substantively, and every opportunity when you speak with me, you see that I'm talking soundness. I'm not talking something that is beyond the ocean. I'm talking something that you can see, something that can be grasped.
Now again, I'm concerned about this period that I would consider a period of your silence, whether internal engagements with state actors to ensure that some of those lapses we've realized could be worked on as an opposition figure and more so as a nationalist.
I'll tell you what, we have means of communication. When the Ministry of Information holds a press conference, it doesn't serve a letter to each individual political party leaders, but we hear, and we hear through you. That's the role you play. When a political actor, like yesterday, various political parties came together and made a position statement, we did not serve that on the government as a person, but the government heard it. So in many respects, when I'm sitting in a radio station and I'm proffering clear ideas, I'm sitting on the Samuel Freeman show proffering clear ideas, it's an opportunity for people to hold on to them and implement them. Okay. And if people need further help, they could say, okay, look, could you help us to do this? But when it's done, then no one can come and say, oh, did you engage the stakeholders? The stakeholders were engaged because we spoke in the public space. The reason why I'm here is this thing is being carried by Truth FM, it's carried by OKFM, it's carried by Red Power, ABC, Fabric, all of that. It's basically because we want a large population to hear our deposition. There are many online radio stations here, TV stations. It's basically because we're communicating. So if we communicate and people don't hear that, then they made a choice not to hear.
Okay. Just a follow-up go ahead. To what I asked. After the inauguration of Mr. President, he extended an olive branch to opposition political parties in order to work in one accord. Did he make good this invitation through action?
No. You remember there was one meeting held at the Bella Casa Hotel, you remember?
Yes.
Where political leaders were invited. there was no follow-up meeting. And I think if the presidency had had other meaningful engagements with political leaders, I guess he would have created the opportunity. You know, sometimes when we discuss the presidency, I think we forget what the presidency is. When you become president, you have a whole layer around you. And anybody going to your house or to your door without a proper escort in terms of invitation, it creates that semblance that, oh, the other person looking for a job, and the lower guys can disrespect you. But if the presidency had gathered political leaders like was Donna Bellicasa, he sits there with his team, or he decides, okay, look, I'm going to talk to these political leaders. In order to have a substantive meeting, I'm going to talk to them maybe 3 by 3 and meet them along with my team, inter-team for now, how we could move our country forward. I'm sure we'll probably be in a better shape today than we are. No such effort was actually applied. And so it clearly hurts. One of the challenges and one of the things I would do as president is when I become president, God's willing, I tell you what, it doesn't matter which political party you come from. I want to read a lot from Singapore's book. They were not looking for who supported who to become president. They were looking for who's best to do the job. And that's the playbook I want to read from, because the best minds may not necessarily be in your party. Some of the people who made the loudest noise to get you elected may have the least capacity in terms of substance or in terms of delivery. And so we have to look at different parties. The other thing is, because a man was not elected or a woman wasn't elected president, it doesn't mean her ideas for transformation aren't great. You know, I want to set up you know, a public policy research institute, you know, an institute of people that want to be president. I want them to have maybe once or twice a month meeting with the president where they can document the ideas, will provide the funding for that, so that the president can draw on what they know and what their visions were for the transformation of Liberia. I think it creates an opportunity where you can be a better president. Look, like I always say, when things happen under your administration, they would say the same your Freeman time. They wouldn't remember who contributed what. And I think those are the kinds of institutions that must be a help. But typically in our country, winner takes all.
Well, are you talking about a government of inclusion?
Well, the government of inclusion makes sense, but it's not just a government of inclusion from the way it's being seen.
A government of inclusion with people with the basic technical know-how.
Right. So relevant, capable, technical, those kinds of people, yes. Okay. So those are the kinds of people we want in government. And besides that, it's very important to stress that my government, God's willing, will be a very small government. At this rate,
I heard that from Madam Sirleaf, and the government ended up being a very large one.
Simeon Freeman is not Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, so I think
I'm just saying we heard that from her as well.
What's your definition of a small government?
Small government clearly means, let's go back. You know, if you go back to the 1960s, and I can share that history with you guys, Liberia by 1950s, 60s had only about 10 ministries and agencies of government. So as the size of our budget grew, we also grew in the size of government. So every time we got more money, instead of investing it in creating a large private sector, we created a larger government. And I'll give you an example. Some of you that were even born as early as 1980. By 1980, the Ministry of Commerce was Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Transportation, right? After 1980, then the first breakup was to name it ministry. We decided to have a Ministry of Transport out of the Ministry of Commerce. So we created a whole new Minister of Transport out of the Ministry of Commerce. As the years went by, we also then broke it down into multiple infrastructure. So today you have 5 public institutions, including the National Communications Authority, all national airport authorities, and all that have come out of this one ministry, which is just enlarging in the track. Do we need a Ministry of Transport for driver's license, for license plate, for issuing permission for aircraft landing? That is something that can be handled by 15, 20 persons under a Ministry of Commerce. So a semi-framework government will condense most of that. I've looked at many things. You got Commission on Small Arms. These are all structures. National Food Assistance Agency, the Ministry of Lands and Mines was even further broken up into, I think, land commission, all these things. Were they not functioning properly? They got broken up. Since they got broken up, don't we still have land issues? We still have those things. So what was needed, which was not done, was that we needed to leverage technology to enable better deeding, so that deeding could be more digital rather than the way anybody can pick up a deed and you buy one land and there's all this land conflict, you have to be going to court, because we don't have the way deeds are issued and the way it is processed is the problem. So when we leverage technology in the sector, it will make it more digital, it will make it more secure. For example, if you are going to Australia, you don't need to go to an Australian embassy. They don't need to put visa in your passport. They give you a digital visa. When you get to the airport in Australia, the guy just click online and see that you have a visa. If you go into Dubai, the same thing. They don't put the visa in your passport. What do? They give you a digital visa. When you get to the airport, you can either show a copy, but they already have it in the system. So they're not dependent on it. So it means that because it's digital, doesn't mean you can exploit it. We can use similar technology and leverage it. That's why one of the first things I want to do as president is to establish a data center in Liberia. What a data center will do, you notice people are, when you have your phone, they say they give you cloud space for storage, you can store up to the cloud. Now, what a data center will do, it depends on what level of tier you want, what a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 5. It depends on the advancement of the economy. You could go up to 5, and that's how much money you're going to spend. But even if we set up a tier 2 data center, it will create a lot of integration, access to information, and we'll be able to control a lot of these outcomes. So a semi-firm administration really condensed these outcomes. The reason why is simple. Let's take the last year's budget, and we'll also look at this year's budget.
Before
we
you go there,
we spent $125 million on recurring expense. We spent $158 million on non-financial asset, which is the cars, the generators, and all those things. So that's almost $300 million spent. If we had taken $100 million to invest it into the private sector, we will create more jobs, we'll have better outcome, we would have reduced our exposure to importation of goods rather than, being a society that makes more money from the poor because of importation. So every time we tax goods at the port, who you think suffers? You don't manufacture in Liberia, it's brought into the country, it is taxed, and now you have to pay, and after that it has to be subjected to GST rounds, so it makes the price of $1 goods in China, it makes it $10 in Liberia, which undermines your purchasing power. Who do you think we're hurting? We're hurting ourselves. And these are the things I want to be able to tackle as president of Liberia. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was going back to this plan of yours of condensing or going back to when Liberia had, very few ministries and all of that. One of the reasons that people gave for sort of, opening them up or expanding them in a way that you now have, no more have the Ministry of Transport under Commerce. Let's take, for example, now you still have the tourism sector, culture and tourism sector under the Ministry of Information. It is still there, but you don't see our tourism or cultural sector booming. You said it right here. Ghana made $2 billion from tourism last year. You don't think we made that? We're talking about thousands of dollars here from our tourism sector. So probably the rationale was that these entities, within the ministries were not functioning well, so they thought to make them independent, like we are having now with the Ministry of Cultural Affairs and
that's where the problem is. You see, I'll give you a short story. There's a drunk guy who had 2 sons. The first son became a very successful lawyer, and he did very well. The second son became a drunk. They asked the 2 guys, how come you are successful and you're not? How come you're successful? What's your inspiration? The first guy said, my father is a drunk. They asked the second guy, so his drunkenness inspired me to be successful. The second guy, why are you a drunk? Well, why are you asking? My father is a drunk. It's about how you look at these things. What I'm saying is, when we have to assess problems in underperformance, the first thing from the bureaucratic mindset is separate it, then it will work well. Instead of asking, did we populate the Tourism Bureau at the Ministry of Information with mediocres? Is it a human resource problem? If you populate it with mediocres and you separate it, it's still going to have mediocratic outcome. It's the same thing with the transport sector. What has improved? Except that today we have people wearing transport share in the street asking you to register. Whereas in other countries, even in Africa, when you have one license plate, that license plate is for the life of the car. All you do, you pay a recurrent fee. What we do, every 1-2 years, you have to buy a new license plate. We're changing it. We're doing this. And you can still mobilize the revenue, and the license plate can still be assigned to the car permanently. That's why I'm not even talking about America. Kenya, the same. Ghana, the same. Nigeria, the same. We are the only one every week we're changing license plate for our reason.
And it's a burden indeed.
For financial burden for the consumer. So has making it a Ministry of Transport changed anything? No, it hasn't. Do we have mediocracy running it? Yes, we have mediocres running it. And because we have that, it's not going to change. So it's the same thing that you talk about. I would look at it differently though. I will do an assessment with my kitchen cabinet and say, why is it not performing? What has this person that's running it, what have they accomplished? If they have not accomplished anything, then it's a person problem. If it is a person problem, then that's it. But under the senior female administration, Ministry of Information wanted the ministries later to be shut down. And when I say these people say, oh, you will create lots of unemployment. No. Here's the thing. I can take the Ministry of Information budget. If you take the Ministry of Information budget, the wage bill, it's about 1.something million. We give you that money for free over the next 24 months while we transition into a new job. So that means there will be no unemployment. In fact, people will be sitting and they will have free money. What we'll be saving the operational expense, the rent and the fuel oil, the cars and everything, which translates to another 1.something million, almost $2 million that we can now move towards the industrial sector in terms of creating industrialization. If we even took $2 million and we're spending $15,000 to build 1 2-bedroom house, do you know how many houses we can build in order to have a laid-out community structure in our country? So just by breaking it down and opening it off doesn't solve the problem. Let's take the land sector. You took the land commission from the Ministry of Lands and Mines. Has it solved the whole issue of land litigation? Has it solved the issue of theft in the land industry? Has it solved the issue of multiplicity of deeds? It has not. The problem still persists. So that concept and the way we look at it is a problem, but I will go further. I will pick up a lot of things. Several years ago, River G was part of Grand Jita County. Grand Cru was part of Sino County. Then you had what you call it? River Cess was part of Grand Basin. Then Bapolu was part of Lufa. Then all of this noise came, the noise of let's create a county out of it. Then it will be developed. What's happening in Bopolu today? But let me tell you what our mistakes have caused. One senator. So Bapolu has how many representatives? 2? Help me with that one. 2, right?
Yeah.
So each of them make about $8,500 a month times 2. That's $17,000. Then they have one senator. The total package for a senator is they have two senators. So that's 15 plus another 15 for the total package for a senator. So that's That's about. Let's take the 8,500 times 2. That's 17 plus 30,000, which is the total package for a senator. So that's 47,000. But don't forget that to run the legislative office for each of them probably costs another 15,000 a month because the cars, the gasoline, all that. So put another 15,000. That's per month. Times that's just for Bapolu alone. So you're talking times 12 months. So that's about $774,000 just on an estimated $774,000. But I I made a mistake in terms of the 15. Hold on, let me go back.
You got to do a further projection because there might be new demarcations.
Right. So, but no, I wanted to deal with the current cost so we can see. So I made an error with the 15 that I added. So we were at the 47,000 that we're at is supposed to be 15,000 times 4 of them, the 4 officers. So that's 60,000 plus 47,000 times 12 months. So you're talking $1.2 million spent on those people. Imagine how many new schools every year the government said, you know what, we will spend, say, $2 million on Bapolu that was part of Lufa rather than making it a separate county. We just do a demarcation, and we do a demarcation based on population. So for the national program, we say every community with 10,000 inhabitants will have a high school, right? So it's a national program. So as part of this, we spend, say, $1.2 million. We could have multiple high schools, multiple clinics. We could have had a whole feeder road program. But what do? We spend our money on 4 persons, and a county that's supposed to be beneficiary of these development is not. So you go from Grand Cru, it's the same. River G is the same. Nothing has really changed in those places except that it is now River G County and no longer Grand Gila County. It is the way we look at things in Liberia that is at the heart of our problems. It's not that the problem is chronic, but whenever there is a problem, the first thing you now hear say, let's turn this place into a county. So it is hope that that county will lead to creating a county will lead to development. It doesn't lead to development. What it does, it increases the problem. So it's the same to a national government. When we have a weakness or we have a performance challenge, what do? We look at it and say, oh, let's create Bureau of Tourism. And the truth is, we don't need, we shut down Ministry of Information. We don't need Bureau of Tourism. You know what we need? In place of a Bureau of Tourism that will be giving $2 million or $1 million to operate, we need that $1 million to set up a tourism slush fund. That's what we need. So when you have a tourism slush fund, Mr. What's his name? Trojan comes from Cape Man. So he decided, okay, look, I can get 2 plots of land on the Lake Piso River, right? And I can build a small resort. But I don't have the money. I don't have the means. And then if you have that slush fund, and the slush fund targets different categories. If you are a greenfield means if you have not invested before in the stuff, but you own the property, maybe you have access to a 50,000 or so, and you can start and we can work with you. If you already have a resort and you want to expand it, you could also have access to that slush fund, and that slush fund probably regulates it. It's going to go through the bank. You see, that's it. So this money will do a purely private sector arrangement. We take the money from the fiscal policy, which is from government, because the banker for the government is the central bank. So we tell the central bank, from our consolidated fund, we're giving you $100 million. Out of the $100 million, you will loan this money to commercial bank. So it's not for free. So commercial banks then that are loaned to would then have instructions for onward learning to specific performance institutions. And by performance institution, we mean we can target people like you who come with your proposal. You've seen that with the Tony Illuminu Fund and Foundation and all these different things. The guys who, so you will send a proposal. Mr. Trojan will come and send a proposal and say, look, I have this land. Here's the deed for my land. This is my architecture drawing. This is something I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And all these things will happen. Then what we do, then we now fund you to build it. If you already have a facility, you come with a pictorial of it, but these are my weaknesses. These are the deficits. If we put up that fund and people can have access to it, and what do we do next? We create a window for payment. Right now, the window for payment is between 12 to 36 months, right? That's 1 to 3 years for repayment. The interest rate for big players, they give you 12%. Smaller player, they probably give you 15%. We want to be able to say this loan would be given for, say, 3%. So it's a special loan that's given for 3%. Repayment window, 5 years. Moratorium means from the day you get the money, we give you 1 year before you start paying. So that moratorium, what are we doing for you? we're capacitating you. So now we will have many beautiful resorts and facilities. Then we have coming to Liberia is free. We announce it to all airlines. It's all over the place. Liberians in America that have U.S. passport, you want to come to your country, you don't need visa. Foreigners from whichever country in the world, Iceland, wherever come, you're not going to pay a dime for visa. The reason is simple. When you come, you need place to sleep. We'll be making money from you. When you come, you need food to eat. You'll go and eat restaurant. You're not going to eat in houses. So when you have more foreigner come to you, when you hear they say the country made $3 billion from tourism or $4 billion, it's not money that was paying to government coffers. It's money that was paid to businesses that benefited from this inflow.
Do they have those kinds of, arrangements where people coming for tourism purposes come free?
To
some of these countries, yeah.
Mauritius. 2018, I went to Mauritius. I called the ambassador in one of the neighboring countries and said, sir, my family and I want to go to Mauritius 2018. He said, oh, Mr. Freeman, I've listened to you. I like you. But we just talked briefly. Then he said, but look, you don't need visa. He said, go online. Mauritius is visa free. I said, we're not going to pay anything. He said, not a dime. When you arrive there, we'll stamp your booklet, you're a Mauritian citizen. But guess what? We're staying in the Shangri-La Hotel. We're paying $2,000 a day. So all paid. So you see that? How much the country made from us? We spent a week there. After that, we flew to Seychelles. You see how much the country made? So much. I'll show you a picture. It was in Mauritius that I took this picture with the lions.
Now you seem to have
Let me show you something 1 minute before you go, sir. Let me just show Mr.
So while you searching for the pictures,
the online guys can just look at this quickly. Yeah, it's a very interesting picture. When I took this picture with the lions.
While you're searching for it, let me inform our listeners that this program, of course, is being carried live simultaneously on OKFM, ABC Radio, Fabric Radio, as well as Truth FM, and on several online networks as well. So have you gotten the picture now?
Yes.
Okay, this is a picture with...
Okay. I went in Lions Den to take that picture. Show them. Scary. Live lion. 10 lions in the den. We went in to take the picture.
Okay.
Yeah,
Edwin wants to see. Now you.
So here I'm coming up. So we flip it a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you seem to have a lot on the governance structure, the governance architecture of our country. How does a Simeon Freeman presidency undo all of these, what you consider as lapses in our governance structure?
So it's simple. In order to cancel a ministry, you will need a legislation. So the first thing you do, you defund it. So the only thing you do, people clearly don't have a grasp of the governance infrastructure. We have something called a budget law of Liberia. So the budget is the president's budget. That's why you see the budget comes from the executive. And the reason why the budget is the president's budget is because who collects the revenue? It's the executive. The LRA is under the executive, under the Ministry of Finance. So they collect the revenue. The Minister of Finance is the Fiscal Affairs Minister. He then compiles all of that through the budget, the Bureau of the Budget. You remember the Bureau of the Budget used to be a Ministry of Finance at the back of the National. Now, under Madam Saydee administration, the Ministry of Planning and the Budget Bureau was integrated. That's why it's now called Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Mm-hmm. You get that? So I'm just trying to give the public knowledge.
And that was good for you from your perspective.
Right.
Yeah, that was good.
So you see, now the Budget Bureau, instead of being at the backup, and the reason why I was like that, because the budget is the president's budget. So now at the Ministry of Finance, it is produced under one roof, and that's why the draft budget is submitted to the legislature. So who submits the budget? It's the president. So what the president can do, and the president can do, is to defund those institutions. It happened under Madam Saydee time. You remember when they wanted to move Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, they defunded it first, and then they transitioned it. So the only allotment that will begin with Paris.
Okay.
Because you keep employees there. even though you're defunding it from all of the other aspects. So you start that. And now you go through, when you defund it first, then you go through the defunding in terms of operational all other costs because it doesn't exist, but you leave the salary portion in the budget, which will leave you a very big envelope that you can spend on other development aspects, which will also be proposed in the budget. You use that as an excess that will now be moved to the central bank to be loaned to the commercial banks. So when you defund that, then you start to engage the legislature to actually take the name off the list. But under my administration, it's not going to come off the budget, because if you take it off the budget, it means you cannot fund that payroll. So it means the ministry or institution will remain in the budget, but then the personnel funding portion or the salary portion will remain. That's step number one. Step number two will be to utilize a key infrastructure we have. You know, several years ago, when President Torba, the late President Torba was president, there's this man who has the Parker pin, Clarence Parker. He and Torba had a conversation, and Torba said, look, Mr. Parker, how can we help the business community? He was concerned about how to make Liberians take charge of the economy. And you're having a discussion with a businessman, not with a politician, not with a minister of government. And then Mr. Parker said, look, Mr. President, let's face it, all of the people you have in your government, do you know what it is to meet payroll? Do they know what it is at the end of the month to pay people? You know, because if you don't have a shop of 3 people, you don't know the pressure of meeting payroll at the end of the month. You don't know how you need to step up productivity. You know, if you're the owner of this station, you know what it is when the manager call you and say no fuel for the station to operate. It puts pressure on your pocket. At the end of the month, when no pay because you don't want negative PR issues, you know what it is. So if you know what it is to meet payroll at the end of the month, then you will understand the need for efficiency, effectiveness in output. So you see where he was coming from. The president understood. So the president asking, how can we help? He said, look, let's set up a National Investments Commission. That was what gave rise to that National Investment Commission. And it was not established to attack foreigners. It was established to help local businesses. So what the Investment Commission intention was that it would be that vehicle that would be the public sector, you know, merge with the public sector. So now you have a public agency that can speak to the Minister of Commerce, that can speak to the Minister of Finance and say, look, this is the way you must proceed for the benefit of the domestic private sector. Over time, it was misconstrued to be a commission that brings in foreigners to invest rather than a commission that helps the locals to invest in their own country. I want to use the Investment Commission as a prime vehicle. So most of the things we're talking about, identifying different structures. When I found the first 100 million, because every year there are 2 sectors I want to target. I will target health, but I'm looking massively at education and industrialization. Because education, our people, now we have something called STEM that we're not even dealing with, but I will go into that in more depth. But let me deal with the business sector first. So the $100 million, but the total, what we're trying to track mainly out of the budget per annum would be at least to do $150 million investment in the private sector every year. And the way we want to do it will be through the National Investment Commission. We will restructure it. We will not re-establish it already. We'll restructure it, put in the necessary technical skills and capacity needed to enable the private sector. So Mr. Vesely come and say, look, I want to add value to cassava because we have our programs that we're targeting. We want to do value addition to cassava, we want to capacitate farmers, all these things that we want to do. He comes and says, look, I want to add value to cassava. He writes his business plan. If he does not know how to write business plan, the Restructuring and Investment Commission will have people there that can assist you write that business plan. There are people who have brilliant ideas, but they don't even know how to put it on paper. There are people who have brilliant understanding and mindset, and we give you lots of them, but they don't know how to do the basics. There are very dynamic people in Liberia that are strong business people, but they couldn't even write you a simple account statement. So those people have great ideas. We want to be able to tap into them. That's why we put the professionals there, pay them to assist our people. The more Liberians that own the Liberian economy, the better it will be for us to succeed. The more foreigners that own our economy, the more challenging it will be. That's why we have lots of outflow of resources out of our country. So let's go step by step. Out of that 100 million, we want to take the first 150 million, we want to take the first 50 million. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We want to take, in year one, we can do all of the counties. So let's say we take the first 4 counties in year one, and we want to establish an agricultural infrastructure. So we want to establish equipment company. That equipment company will have warehouse. It's going to have equipments like, front end loader, trucks, 4-wheel drive vehicles. We want to establish 2 per county. So let's take Bon County. We'll do 1 in Upper Bon, 1 in Lower Bon. Grand Bassa, we'll do 1 in Upper Bassa, 1 in Lower Bassa. Margibi, 1 in Upper Margibi, 1 in Lower Margibi. We take another county, say Bummy, 1 in Upper Bummy, 1 in Lower Bummy. What will those companies do? Those companies that will be funded with public resources, but they paying the money back. Like I said, it's a loan. What do? They go out now and they provide free ceilings to farmers and clear farmers' land. So that means each company will operate within an area and scope of operation. So now you have a company in Upper Bummy that has more than 20,000 farmers under its belt, is doing free land clearing, and is buying use from farmers. So Mr. Kazulu is in Bami, he's growing cassava. We gave him free cassava seedlings, he grows it. He doesn't have to look for a market. That same company that cleared the land for you will come back to you and buy the use. Is it not similar thing that Firestone is doing currently that's working?
Buying,
when you talk these things, it sounds like it's far-fetched. Firestone is buying, Firestone not just buying rubber. Firestone is assisting you with implements, materials for you to clear your land. And then Firestone buy it back from you. You guys have a billing account where Firestone will give you some money to operate, but Firestone will also take our money out. So you see, now what happened? Our farmer will have access to resources. Because he has access to resources, now we have one company that is now an accumulator of cassava. We have one company that is now an accumulator of sea rice, of pepper, and all these things. When the market woman wants to buy pepper, why does she have to go all over the place looking for pepper when there is one company she can go to in Bummy, in Upper Bummy, to say, I want 20 bags of pepper, to say, I want 50 bags of cassava, which is going to be the basis for us to create an industrial base in this country. The next step we want to do is we take another couple of millions, all right, and we invest it in a value addition sector. You buy the cassava. Now, let's say I want to set up a farina infrastructure and I want to add milk to the farina. It's being funded. The factory is established. Jobs have been created. Now, what do? Instead of you setting up a transport company, send to Grand Gita to look for cassava, send to Grand Bassa. So now the truck driver will tell you, Chi, we went there, no cassava, he's doing your own thing. Send to Lofa. They say, Chi, we went over there, they play dry, we had to go all the way. So instead of you spending 50 gallons to buy cassava, you have to be spending up to 200 gallons, your project will fill. Now, all you have to do, the driver is only a conduit. Go to company B. You can even buy cassava from 10 companies if you want, or 3 companies within a belt, or one of the 2 companies in Bombing County. Go and they will give you cassava. You bring the cassava and you start to add value. You see the layers of jobs that we start to create as a result of a more radical approach, a different way of the governance process. Because the biggest challenge we have, boss man, which I go to bed every night and I'm thinking, you know what it is? Today, as a result of pimping, the rate of pregnancy in our country has risen. One pimping man got 3 girls pregnant at the same time. One pimping man got 4 women pregnant at the same time. Then you are keke on the driver there. So, and they're not most of these guys not looking back at these children. These children form part of the societal structure. They will be uneducated. The quality of education is not good. These are challenges. That's why you need to create these structures for us to create jobs for those women.
Now, Mr.
And the men.
Now, Mr. Fremont, all of these things you say are coming out sounding very beautiful, but the reality here is this: we are just 7 months away from the election. Two things. I think your party, if I read it right this morning, I saw your party's name among several opposition parties that have signed up to not accepting the results of the census to be used, in fact, for election purposes.
Were you counted? I know you won't answer, but you were not counted.
For election purposes. So the Elections Commission itself has just said, just yesterday in a meeting with the Senate, that they've not been given a dime to operate, which is a problem going forward for having a very good election. All of these plans you're giving might not come to reality if the election itself is either held on time or held in a way that would be acceptable to all. I mean, what are your own thoughts?
Well, it's simple. Two things.
On those things.
If the government, if the census is not held, we've proffered a solution. We've said use the old census for this election until the census issue is clear. We propose a solution, didn't we? We did. Now, if the Elections Commission doesn't have money for elections, when the mandate of this government is over, we'll pick an interim government that will run for elections. So the interim government will then conduct the affairs of elections. Simple. So if this government knows what I know, they better be able to provide the funding for the Elections Commission so that we don't have another discussion of illegal mandate extension. So in every respect, they need to be able to fund the Elections Commission because they're saying that there's increment in the budget. So if there's increment in the size of the budget, then you should not be having money problem.
We'll come back to the budget in a bit, but did your being a part of that
opposition group of
opposition parties to speak in a single voice signal some collaboration or coalition?
Oh yeah, there is a need for us to collaborate. You heard me multiple times on multiple platforms. I think you were there the last time when I said that. Look, there is a need for us to talk to each other. No one political party has the resources and can defeat a ruling establishment. We need to be smarter than that. So here's the thing, and like I've said to my colleagues, right? We've always went into the discussion with our head bent on one thing. Either Mr. Kiazulu is president, or I'm vice president, or I'm president, he's vice president. I'm saying, look, we have multiple issues. We have simple common threats. Some of the threats are that our members could be attacked. We have threats where, like the census results, it could be flawed, which is flawed. You were encountered, I was encountered. So the next drive is not to just submit a document to the legislature. We're starting is I was not counter movement. Me too, I was in counter movement. So we can mobilize at least 1 million signatures and use it as a basis to shut down that whole thing called census. We thank the international community who funded it. But when you fund these kinds of things that's not done properly, it's the beauty of democracy. The money is not the real issue. It's the outcome that is the issue. So we have multiple reasons why we should. No one political party has the resources to deploy people throughout this country for polling stations. If we collaborate, that's it. Now, if we come together under one roof, right, for those kinds of purposes, maybe in the course of our engagement as the months evolve, we could say, okay, look, let's take one, let's take two for president, vice president. Even if we don't, we still have a cohesion that is strong enough, and we have the body politics of our people working together so much so that even if he doesn't make it and you make it, the probability of him supporting you in round two is very strong as compared to going against you or going in the back. So yes, we're looking at a cross-purpose vehicle that is not just focused on who's number one, who's number two, but a cross-purpose vehicles where we have common threats to ourselves. And these threats have to be looked at from a more holistic standpoint. We got threats of security, right? right? We need to have all of the security experts within our different parties come together, work together for one end, to ensure that if any member of our group is attacked, we can be fed as political leaders. We can meet and come up with position actions that will ensure transparency in the investigation process, that will ensure that we are part of any investigation, that will ensure, if possible, we have to bring in experts to evaluate certain kinds of pieces of evidence. It will create a slim room for anybody to take us for granted. But when we remain divided, we're not speaking with each other, then what happens? You can be attacked. Today is your time. Tomorrow you will be attacked, and I think we're beginning to see that more and more. So our collaboration must not be measured in one lens, and that's why I have to tell the media. It has to be measured from the lens of that we have common threats, and those common threats are more important for the greater good. Because we all have one goal. If you want to retire George Weah, then why are we not speaking to it with each other? So that's precisely the way we look at it.
Talking about security, which you mentioned continues to be a threat. Let me just ask you first, do you still hold on to your vision of scrapping the army?
That is a vision that is still upheld, because clearly the army is a very good vehicle, but the army can be used for a better purpose. You see, that army can be converted into a strong engineering arrangement, and that army can help us build our roles.
Under one umbrella, if they're not the armed forces of
so don't
Nigeria
forget,
anymore, what will you be calling
don't
them?
forget, these are not things, like I said, you can scrap from day one. We agree? So the armed forces was created by an act of the legislature. You can scrap it from day one. So you have to transition it like you would do with a ministry and what have you. So if you transition it, you make it more productive. But let's face it, when Madam Sirleaf restarted the army, I think they were about 1,200. It started with that. That number has not grown significantly. And it has not grown significantly because we have not been able to give them the kind of benefits that they would otherwise get. So in every respect, if we transition it, then it makes the army an interesting vehicle why you moving it to stage one. You can't just, you see, in the case of the army, you can't just say, go and sit down, we give you money. No, you have to transition it into a functional vehicle. So it has to be part of our agricultural program, where army people will be trained and they can go out to the different farms, train people. We can also transition it into part of an engineering infrastructure. So they will now be part of the new drive of the new development of Liberia before you move it in terms of the way you name it and all these kinds of things. So yeah, in terms of security, you have to spend a lot of money on police. I don't see why each police officer don't have a pimpin'. At least one pimpin' that is to his name, that can be gas. Because how do you expect me to fight crime? I don't even have uniform. How do you expect me to fight crime? The whole DEA, have you looked at the budget? DEA budget, Busman, is less than $500,000. Fire service, less than $1.2 million for the whole year. How do you expect me to have gas and water in the fire truck and have fire technicians to go and fight fire when you have fire?
Is that why you expect me to fight? Is that why you think it's wrong with the security? Recently, there's been this attack that has been investigated now on the former Chief Justice. There has been a series of people who've been calling for, they say their lives have been threatened and all of that. Do you think that's the problem? The underfunding of the security sector. That's why it's part of the problem. Don't forget, mediocrity is part of the problem. Underfunding is part of the problem. Because here's the thing: when the police is not properly funded, are you going to attract serious people to the police? No. If you're paying one policeman how much, $90, $50. Let's face it. Will you want to be a police officer? If you're not paying properly, you wouldn't attract good people to the sector. That's one. Two, if you're not funding it properly, the police uniform, the police people have to make their own uniform. You know that. And maybe it's something that you guys need to throw light on. They're not equipped. You go to a police station, you even carry a case, they won't get candle. You know that. So we can't pretend about these things. So if you have to buy a candle
for your case to be investigated. You even go to the police offices, you know, it's on Tade, it's on Kep, jailhouse in this country, Lola, you've been cursed, you know, want to put you in jail. You know, so these things shouldn't be happening. That's why those things needs to be funded properly. And we need to take money from where we need to take money from and fund the proper areas that need to be funded. And I think then it will step up the issue of security. I think, but on a more wider note, some of the problems we have in are artificial and it's self-inflicted. Some of the things we've heard, you know, like the one I heard the other day, that one of the guys who took the lady to the hospital, you know, he said he's been coerced to make misrepresentation. It means it's an institutional thing. And if it is an institutional thing, I would really encourage the guys that are in power, those of us that are older, we understand. Look, when President Doe was in power, there was this mindset that you could become president by embracing the wrong approaches. What did it lead to? For the first time, it led to a rebel war. And then came President Taylor. And he thought, well, coming through a rebel movement, I can be a law and gospel. And what did that lead to? It led to multiple warring factions, and this country was engulfed in crisis. I think, like I even said under the Madam Saliv administration, when you start to let your state actors loose and believe that you can do certain things with impunity, you create challenges for yourself. I think it's good to be safer at all times. You know, there are a lot of things you can do under the belt that works. You don't have to be a threat to people. You don't have to do arm twisting. If I was president, anybody that brought session advice, I would throw it in the bush, because the Bible says we reap what we sow. We must not embark on paths that don't help us, because clearly they don't.
Okay, Fidel, you want to come in?
Yeah. He's fascinated more about the economy, and so I have to actually show the lens there.
Right.
A few time ago, the government said that they were raising record revenue, and then we saw the complaints from different agencies of government regarding funding.
Right.
Now, how do we reconcile this, being an economist, that we are raising more revenue, yet some agencies of government are under-supported?
Well, that's going to be our second battle, and we will probably take that up with other political parties. The only way we will know that you're raising more revenue is through your budget performance report. You see, the budget is only a number. I can submit a budget and say it's a $1 billion budget. But in the end, when I'm funding the institutions, you heard when the U.S. ambassador visited integrity institutions, they said they were poorly funded. And so he urged the government to not play with the funding of integrity institutions. And many other institutions, like you said, complain. And they complain because it clearly means that even though in the budget, Mr. Fidel is allotted $1 million, but what Mr. Fidel gets is actually $200,000. So the way we will know that is through a budget performance report. Now, when the budget performance report comes out, it will say, we projected to collect $1 billion, but we actually collected $300 million. And as a result, we're supposed to give this institution $1 million, but we give you $200,000. But you look in the budget, no performance report. It's a serious problem.
And that's how you tackle. Let's talk more about the budget. I know the budget was passed sometimes last week.
Right.
And you like coming with statistics, so I like to have a conversation around that. Which areas in the budget did you pick up on that you thought, okay, we're putting your foot wrong this time again, or we keep doing the same wrong thing over and over, especially with the budget in this election year?
Oh, it's simple. Look, our recurring costs is hard. And you notice we took this legal action to the court against the speaker, Deputy Speaker, President Pro Tempore. These are fine individuals. We don't have anything against them. One of them is even a personal friend. But we can't create a situation where our country needs money, our people need money. We need to fund sectors, but we have few people basically using the money for themselves. Let's even look at the office of the vice president. The vice president operational fund is bigger than the allotment, is almost the size of the allotment to the fire service. The vice president operational fund is bigger than the drug enforcement agency. So let's face it, these are the things that hurt us in many respects. If you're spending $130, $140 million on recurring expenditure, a small country of 5 million people, we have multiple challenges. We're supposed to be spending, say, $50, $75 million on things that matter. I'm beginning to talk about education on our STEM program. We're very weak when it comes to the STEM program. We have not even started. We're nowhere near there. The quality of our education at the high school level, at the college level, is nothing to write home about. You know, bachelors teaching bachelors, master teaching master. And if you go to school in Liberia, you don't even see a book, you just see a pamphlet, whether it's a 1990 pamphlet or 1980 pamphlet, you don't even know. And our educational system is just heavily purely academic rather than being more practical. So the outcome of the school is heavily challenged. We need to be spending money on those kinds of areas, but we spend $125 million on recurring expense. Then we go further. We spend another $158 million on non-financial assets. Because we have all these multiple institutions that are not really adding value. We had land problem in Liberia since 1847. The land problem has even gotten worse, but we have land commission funded privately. You know, then we have all these different institutions that's not, in spite of all of the airport infrastructure we've created, we cannot even manage a simple airport that we have. These are things that are hurting us, and I'm saying if we took that money and refocus it, is going to help us. So if you look at this budget, the revenue side is good. But then one thing that catches my eyebrow, we're collecting a significant quantity of our resources from the poor. So it means that we're making a lot more money from international trade. What that means, since we're collecting a significant portion of our revenue from international trade, it means importation, it has become a source of our revenue. It means that the cost of goods will keep rising, because when the goods is imported, this water is imported, then the government taxes it, then you have to pay GST, then the guy who's selling it has to put his own cost of operations on it. So $1, so take for example, this water that I'm drinking in America, I think it's sold for $4. Here it's sold for $18. What's the gap?
14.
You see the gap? $14 in between there. And it's the same thing. 1 liter toothpick in China costs practically nothing. But when you buy it here, it's something that's so expensive. These are the things that are challenging our people's ability to survive. So when you take away people's purchasing power, it doesn't help them. And that's why I'm saying, look, many times the government sees these things from a standpoint of opposition. If I were president, like I used to say to the Madam Saydee administration, I would say, you know what, Minister of Finance, let's set up a team to sit down with this gentleman, and these people are mentioning sense. How can we tackle these things? What can we do differently? How can we repurpose? But typically, the government see everybody that say everything positive from the standpoint of opposition. And that's precisely where we are. So if you look at this budget, clearly, you have the same line of expenditure. You have support to our foreign ministries. So you have a huge allotment to our Department of Foreign Affairs. You have another allotment of $20-something million to the Ministry of State. That includes the renovation of this one mansion. I think if you were even building an estate, from the money that has been spent in the mansion from Madam Saydee to the 6 years of this other government, you would have probably built about 200 new homes that would have housed a lot more people, or even 400 new homes. The money that has been spent is so much. And some of our priority projects confuses me. Look, with all due respect to the government intention, why would Simeon Freeman and his government want to spend money on a sports park when thousands of young people read the last USAID report? Do you know 30% of the teachers teaching high school in our country are high school dropout? Have you seen a report that clearly says that 922,000 pupils, children enter school in this country, but only 3% graduate out of high school? 3% of the 920,000. So it means that out of 920,000, when you reach high school level, you got less than 30,000 graduates. As president, doesn't that give you sleepless night? Doesn't that make you to say, how can I improve that sector? How can I add value to that sector? But what do? We spend money on mansion, sports park, foreign ministry. And I keep asking the question, what does Liberia's ambassador to Sierra Leone bring for us? What does Liberia's ambassador to Cote d'Ivoire bring for us? Liberia's ambassador to Ghana, what does it bring? We're in the ECOWAS sub-region. Dubai is richer than Liberia. Does Dubai have an embassy here? No. What do? They have a consulate. If you want visa for Dubai, you go online. In fact, you go to a travel agency. You all know that. If you're in Freetown, you don't need visa to come to Liberia. If there are consular issues there, we can have a consulate that can solve consular issues. Save money. Why do we have all these multiple embassies spread all over the place? You see the other man, or a consular secretary, a first secretary, and millions of dollars being spent when we have millions of dollars problems here that need to be solved. It's the wastefulness in the budget that tears me apart. And when you say that, people say, oh, you're being critical. We need to get serious, because when you are president, you're not president for yourself. You're president to add value to the lives of millions of people that look up to you. And what do? We just throw the money away. How can you have 30% of the people teaching your students a high school dropout? When I mean high school dropout, they are junior high school dropout, my friend.
Now,
serious issues.
How come is Mr. Simeon Freeman seeing out of this most often? Those who are in opposition see these things rather than those who are in government. Why is it so?
Those who are in opposition, I'll tell you what, if the country will give me some credit, I'm one of the opposition voices that is substantive, and I give you facts. I remember I sat in the scene studio, the late Mamadi Diakate were here. I sat here. Across there sat the Minister of Information. We debated these same issues, and I think that even created problems for him. I also sat across the table at then Truth FM. We debated these issues. I've always come to the table, as you know, with facts. I opened the book. That's why I brought my laptop. I have the budget open here, and I'm speaking. I'm giving you the facts. That's why I took the facts to court. So I can't speak for the other people, but I know for me, I see these facts. And the reason why I can be trusted is because I'm in the private sector. I run for-profit businesses. If a business doesn't make profit, we shut it down. And if I get into government, I'm going to take that experience where we will take the key sectors of government that will begin to make money. And here's the mistake we make. Let's face it. If Prime FM made $100,000 a year, for example, I know with this kind of economy, Prime FM don't smell that kind of money. I know it's a burden. I know it's a burden of the owners. But having said that, let's say you made $100,000 a year, and Prime FM takes $90,000 and reinvested it in a studio, bought bigger equipment for nationwide coverage, expanded the facility, maybe open branch 1 and 2. Then what happened? The following year, you made $200,000. You invested again. What happens with Prime FM? Prime FM will have a research and development department. Prime FM will be more of an experienced infrastructure that deliver better content, because now Prime FM will go towards content creation, where she can go around collecting news in a very efficient way. She will be on the spot if something happens in Lofa, something happens in Grand Jida, and what have you. And then the following year, she can even go regional. What am I saying? When we invest in the private sector of our country, it lifts the GDP automatically. Because don't forget, if in year 1 we invested in 20 factories, those 20 factories will have achieved the first thing. First thing it's going to do what? Stop us from importing those things that we were importing before. Every time you reduce importation, the money circulate locally. Toothpick, now it will be circulated locally. One key sector, the boogeyman in the room, we're spending about $260 million per annum on rice. It's gone up. It's probably gone to about $280 million on rice per annum. Let me give you a calculation so you can see what that means per month. $280 million per annum. $280 million per annum means divided by 12 months, you're talking about $23.3 million per month. Think about it. If the government through an aggressive annual program, like I talk about the equipment program that will be clearing the land for the farmers, and through that program we're able to add value to rice. Let's say in year one we're able to reduce our import by $20 million. In year two, we reduce it by, say, 30 million. Year three, we're able to reduce it by 60 million. What's going to happen? Now you have that money revolving in our economy. That sales will be evolving. That's what's happened to Nigeria. Nigeria was not even spending million. They were spending $20 billion per annum on rice importation. Today, Nigeria is a net rice exporter. Last year, they grew their total consumption 7 million metric tons. They grew 9 million metric tons. So they got 2 million to export. This year is going to be a different fare for them. Now they've moved towards cocoa and coffee. They develop another program. They also move towards cassava. Systematic actions lead to systemic outcome. But if every year we spend the money on Ministry of Information, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Executive Mansion Renovation, Sports Park, and all these things, how does it add to our GDP?
But not all the infrastructures in government are intended to raise money.
Which infrastructure is not intended to, is supposed to be there not for money raising? I just want to learn.
Now, Mr. Freeman, I know we're coming because we got to take course. You're talking about, I come from a sporting background, and I'm sure Vesely and
right.
Because you're here talking about why should we build a sports park? Somebody listening to you who is a sports guy will say, "Oh, Mr. Freeman has all of these beautiful plans or the economy and whatever," but he's not thinking about sports. I mean, here we are, a country that have produced the first African to ever become a Ballon d'Or winner in our current president. But we've done little or nothing on the world stage when it comes to sports. You're talking always about the economy and all of that, and the people in the sporting world are like,
so let's look.
Do you have plans for
Ghana,
sports?
Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire export more people to the sporting world than Liberia does?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Let's take the guy from Cote d'Ivoire. What's his name?
Didier Drogba.
Drogba. He set up a sports academy. Did you know that? In Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, no.
He's training more people. So you see, let's look at the conflict in competition. The ATS needs to be renovated. It needs to be invested in, but we'll build a sports park. The Samuel Kanyando Sports Complex needs some serious work, but we invest in multiple sports parks across the road from each other. Do you see the conflict?
So if you're president, what will your plans be towards sports?
So my plan towards sports will be to enable these private arrangements that will take people and put them in a sporting academy. It is from the sporting academy that will make more money, because if we send 200 guys out there and they start to play in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Italy, France, the UK, then what happened? Like I was telling the other day, do you know how much people like Messi make per month? You know how much Mbappe makes per month? $60 million per month. So you see what will happen? That guy can send money back. By building sports park doesn't help that. What helps that is by investing in the structures that will lead to the exportation, that will also lead to us having a good team. You see, that's what I'm saying. The way we look at things in our country is the problem. Whenever we have a problem, we don't get the right analysis. You know, when I was in university, we always say your analysis of the situation is where the problem is. If you analyze it wrongly, your outcome will be bad. So if we invest in a clear sports program, Lone Star going to play South Africa. Jama, you can't come on. You spend 1 week on camp, two months on camp. Then we'll go and play the BR. There's a sports program. Not correct. But I stop wasting my time on Liberian sports because truly they will give you high blood pressure. You have high hope. And then look, one time I was in Cote d'Ivoire. I was a refugee. Liberia was playing in Ghana because they couldn't come to I drove from Cote d'Ivoire where all that gas went to Ghana. They beat us right before my film, and the players were playing at the tire. I said, Lord, Igbo will give me high blood pressure. I'm too young for that. So the reality is we need to invest in a sporting program. You see, as the way we look at these things, then we need to invest. You see, when government run these things, most times they don't come out good. We find the resources. This man is a sportsman or he's an old coach, and we give him the resources to invest in what? In a sporting academy. Then we have about 10, 15 sporting academy across the country. We can even pull good players from there. Then it be used as a business for exportation. That's why Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, these countries export more than we do. But what do? We take millions of dollars that could do multiple sporting academy. What do? We throw it into sports park. And we say, so since we build a sports park, how many games have we won?
No, it's sports park.
Since we have a recreation. Okay, so we build sports park for recreation when our people are educated, when they're hungry. So we build that for ourselves. No wonder why the biggest patrons are government officials. No wonder why. So they build it for themselves. They took millions of public resources to build a meeting place for themselves.
So are you not also concerned that you need? I mean, the entire country, there's no recreational place. I mean,
Mr. Trojan, let me just tell you,
is that not also a concern about
let me speak the Liberian English.
So that
when you get money, you can't be talking about cashmere suit. When you get money, you go to Dokafle to buy you clothes. Am I making sense? Right now, where we are, the problems we have are bigger than everything else. And what we need to do is to tackle those problems, not to start dealing with lavish issues. When we get to that point where, when you look, those days when I didn't have money, I say, car. If you give me Bapi Solo and somebody get a Rolls Royce, when you get money, you sit down in Rolls Royce when the car bounces, even the tea you drinking doesn't shake, then you know car is not car. You understand? So when we get to that point, it's different. Liberia is not to that point. You go on the streets, with the whole street covered up with things that it shouldn't be covered up with. We need to tackle those things. When we get to that point where maybe we are at the place of Cote d'Ivoire or where Ghana is or Nigeria is, and our GDP is 100 billion, and you say you're building a sports park. People have jobs. I hope you get to the point. You have to learn to walk. You have to crawl, then you walk. Right now, some of the things we're celebrating, we shouldn't. We should be looking at how to resize our government to repurpose the money. This year again, they will send money to all the embassies across here, Cote d'Ivoire embassy will get enough money. They got to pay rent for ambassador, pay rent for the other person, pay rent for the other person, and that will help the person in Grand Bassel in number 2 compound to prosper.
One last thing quickly, Ombudsman. You have taken the government to court again about Ombudsman. Right. Of course, that has been a long-running thing.
But that's why the MPC tried to position itself, and now we want to do it in conjunction with other parties regarding these issues. Because you see, like you saw during the march, when the entire security infrastructure carrying arms, dressed in a political party uniform, who do we report to? If you were ombudsman, we'll come to you. If you do nothing, then we have a clear basis now to go further. So put the ombudsman there. If we go to Buchanan, we say we want to use the fairground. Then the superintendent says, no, we can't get you the fairground and this and that. Now we have a clear basis. If a minister that is minister or what, or assistant minister carry government picker, behind we see you carrying partisan, we take picture. First, in Marvel, you make it easy. This time we go live. You just go live. The evidence is right there. You can't miss it. The government official using government car, government resources to fund a political party. We have a clear basis.
Okay.
When does NPC go to convention?
Oh, I think it should be this year. I'll find out from my people.
When do we know who is the running mate to Mr. Simeon?
Oh, as soon as possible. Maybe, I could be running mate. Maybe I could have a running mate. Maybe, whatever. These political outcomes.
Maybe you could be running mate.
Maybe I could be running mate. Maybe somebody could be running mate. We don't know.
Maybe
But
Mr.
we're making sacrifices for the good of our country.
Imagine Mr. Simeon Fremont and Tier 1 Gonglo one ticket.
Anything is possible.
Okay.
Anything is possible. Maybe Mr. Simeon Fremont, Mr. Trojan could be on one.
All right, folks. His name is Simeon Freeman. He's the political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change. He has been our guest on this Friday's edition of the Prime Morning Drive. Of course, this program is being relayed on OKFM 99.5, ABC Radio, Fabric Radio, Truth FM, and several online television stations as well. And it's time now that we take calls on the program. The numbers you can call to be a part of the Prime Morning Drive this morning are 0770 100051, 0770 100051, or 086 050507, 086 050507. Those are the numbers you can call to be a part of the Prime Morning Drive. Let's hear you. Our first caller on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Valerie, and good morning to Trojan, and good morning to your studio guest this morning.
Go ahead.
My name is Frederick Mova. I call you from Central Moravia this morning. So Valerie, you see, Trojan, you guys are the interviewers. Straight 2 hours, almost 2 hours of clearly laying down vision. I'm inspired again by the Honorable Simeon Freeman. You see, when we talk about politicians, when we talk about leaving the old ways of doing things and starting a new chart of governance, you see how he clearly lays it. Fellow Liberians, this is what we were talking about. And I'll go back to where he talked about, for example, the institutions and the way we think about our institutions. Say, for example, ministries not performing or areas are not performing, then we say when we extract them and do a standalone, then they will be more effective. He has clearly demonstrated that doesn't work. Independent Human Rights Commission, have we solved the human rights issues? The land issues he talked about, right? Have we setting up all of these institutions doesn't really change anything unless the approach is different. All right, he talks about how to take money. The whole issue about government sitting down as the Google man, and there's this story when we're growing up. There's this bird that appears to be like a Gina, right? As soon as you grab something, say, bring it to me, and then they take it from you. That's how the Liberian government has been for all these years. It's just sitting there, right? It's either they're slapping you with new taxes or they're increasing an existing tax that they're actually increasing it. That is how it has been. It's always been to take money from the private sector and put it into government, and then make government people to feel better and then honor. I want to live in a country that is led by somebody who's thinking like Simeon Freeman, right? I want to go to bed knowing that the president will wake up 2 a.m. and be thinking about how to make my life better. I want to live in Liberia, right, in my lifetime, that I can be very sure that whatever I want to attain personally, the government led by the president is waiting to meet me halfway. If I have a vision or I have some kind of knowledge to establish a business, I know that the government is working towards meeting me halfway to do that. And that is the way Liberia is going to change. Look at the way he ended one conversation with this sports party, and then Trojan want to even talk about sports and what. And like you already said it, you can't be poor and be talking about entertainment. You can be poor and you be talking about, now, look at the sports park that we built and we're still building all across the country. Is it going to change Westman? Is it going to change how the people in Westman are going to live? Is it going to change the health condition? Is it going to change Westman into a paradise? Or that small place going to be there? But it's going to change anything.
All right.
I wish I had more time, but Simon, thank you, Mr. Freeman. You have just made my day this morning. Straight 2 hours of doing the best thing that will happen to me this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear another person. Good morning.
Good morning, Jess, and good morning to your colleagues and to our studio guests. My name is Degosin, Ryan Degosin. I call from Calvert. Good morning, Mr. Freeman. It's been a long time.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have a question. Like I always say to Mr. Freeman, he's one person that don't just provide problems, but he always provide adequate solution to solve this problem. I always talking about it. This is something I admire for him. Mr. Freeman, I have a concern that we need to address that have to do with our young people that we classify as Zogos. Honor is senior Freeman government. But what policy or what mechanism you going to put in place to get these guys out of the ghettos? Because one thing must take into consideration, even though they have problems with the issue of life, but they are also Liberians. Some of them come from good homes. But the issue about the drugs and what they think that keep them out there in the street is taking this country to a path that is going to be dangerous for us for the future. So, Mr. Freeman, I would love that you really explore some avenues to get these guys out of the street during the time when you aspire to the position of a president. Thanks so very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's hear another person. Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. I'm sorry for the feedback. And good morning to children and good morning to Mr. Simon Freeman.
Good morning, sir.
I kind of joined in a little late, but then I've always heard Mr. Freeman talking much about the economy and Liberia as a whole, and I do admire him. We've had interactions on OKFM. But Mr. Freeman, I have a question for you. When you read contemporary economic or policy, you will notice that when we have the meltdown in the world, it took the banking sector, those multilateral companies use the banking sector to better off all of the European economy, including America and what have you. What is happening in Liberia is unprecedented. It is an issue of a stereotype nature of our banks towards typical Liberians. Liberians are not able to access loans from the bank. So as such, you are doing a piece of business like I am doing today, and you cannot expand because when you get to the bank, not because you have credited money, but because another Liberian has credited money, the bank has no trust in us. But we see foreigners excelling all the time, taking huge sum of money from the bank, and they are investing it in our economy. Where we are the fixers in our economy as it relates to the banking sector. Could you elaborate as to what could be your policy as dealing with the bank? This is hoping that either the ruling government or the sitting government could look at it and say, look, we can use this model to deal with the banks so that Liberians can get loans and be able to fund their ideas.
Thank you, Blake. I think your point is made. Let's hear another person. Good morning.
Thank you. To my good friend and brother, let me say good morning to every one of you because I will not be able to call your name one by one. This is we are calling this time around from some kind of corner, and I will now call the station. So anyway, let me say good morning to Mr. Freeman. You know, for some of us, when we listen to Mr. Freeman, when we call to make our input, God will judge us. It means because some of us support the CDC, Liberia for every one of us. And we need people that get idea to move the country forward. Look, I've been following Mr. Freeman since Madam Saydee time. He's one man that I really respect in this country when we talk about opposition. Opposition is not just me to just be destructive. You should be somebody that when you speak anywhere, people respect you. Nobody knows that Mr. Freeman is an opposition. Because why? The way he presents himself. He want to see the country move forward. Even because if somebody is there, if not he, then he must be there to honor the person that everybody should suffer. No. That's why we say, Mr. Freeman, for some of us, even when John Weatherton finish, because I know that John Weatherton will finish the 2 years that coming, it will finish. Some of us will support Mr. Freeman. No, that is not a joking thing. I want to tell you. But the only thing that I would say to Mr. Freeman is that, yes, the park that you mentioned, for some of us, we appreciate that park. That park is not only for football, it's for our children. Even the international people get like, yeah, they're ready to go there for exercise because all the things like you showing pictures to other people that you took pictures with lion, whatsoever. That is the same thing. All countries have the things that we are backward. So when we see this thing, we appreciate it. We see our children going there to go play program has been done there. All I want is good for exercise. It means for us to condemn it.
Okay. Jose Piri. Let's take another person on this Lone Star line. Good morning.
Good morning to you, friends. Good morning to the Latin people. And let me commend this morning for inviting one of the brains of Liberia, a person of Mr. Freeman. For the public, I'm really demanding careful and I'm join you guys on district number 16. And why is my political important? Okay, you see what happens that I think that this big brother in studio is justice and checking for the future of Liberia. And then what I can tell you is like, and because human, everything has time in country, everything has time. Today it might not be your time, but I can tell you that my special group of God with all of the coaches that you're doing, with all of the brains that you have, it's just that in Liberia, there is time, and not Liberia alone, but in the war at large, there is time for everything. That's what the Bible says. So this time around, and here for me, I think we have to have the popularity, and then he has the brain too. But then here he shares the same ideology. But then what I can tell you is that, and I want you to continue to give more of the courage, because when I saw Joseph and yes, in power, so I want to be the front runner to what was support here, and then to pray. I just want you, just in case of anything on second land, I want you to be help us the process to add your voice and then be a support for that.
Okay, thank you. I think you've made your point. We have to take others. Let's hear you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. I'm Peter.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I enjoy the paper this morning. But something he said, something he left, I want to ask me a question. Yeah, Mr. Freeman, I can remember once upon a time when the issue took place, like in the ferry from Lofa. The police, you done with the Unity Party now. He took one of them to court. And the second person to you in the opposition, you say you're communicating with all the opposition. The last time, some part of last year, it is the more AMC one have the value office. And one of your police will have it. Could you call your police to ask how a political ask that phone? You ever ask to call him? They say the last night the Israel have to play to the editor for. And not you want me to come out on your page. The very credit is. But then I will only be going somebody to comment. I'll come and see you flagging that issue and you want me to complain about the value that you took that you take about the EPL having the president picture on that t-shirt and flagging that issue to her. But send it to put on the editor for and not you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning to our honorable protocol leader of Mr. Premier. My name is John Kana calling from Kabla Papas. I just want to thank you for a well speaking this morning. Thank you, Ahu, for the election to come for making our next president.
Thank you. Let's take this person. Good morning.
Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Christian Yanti, and I joined the conversation from the office of the Intellectual Alliance of Liberia along the Jiffan Freeway. Well, let me say good morning to Mr. Freeman, your colleague. You know, Mr. Freeman has never run out of ideas regarding his presentation. But the point is, looking at this contemporary Liberia, if Mr. Freeman is a president of this country, you know what will happen? The country will go back in a reverse gear. Let me tell you this. Mr. Freeman will present as if to say the government will only operate on the executive, fundamentally not realizing that there are three branches of government. Some of the institutions that he talked about that are not necessary, and some of the embassies and stuff like those, let's agree and know to ourselves that these things were established by law. It is the legislature these things pass to. So before you remove some, you should be cognizant of the reality that these things should be able to go back to the legislature. Today, we are witnessing something with the LACC, where Councilor Clark Mountain has some problem today that there is a court proceeding. So let's know that these things are established by law. So even if you are talking about the cancellation of some of those institutions, you should be able to reference that we will go back to the legislature to see how best we can get them off. Lastly, with the issue about the spokesman that he thought to cosmeticize his presentation on that when children start to asking that people think that you are not concerned about the sport or people who are in the sporting environment of our country. Now, If you talk about the sport park, that sport park is a recreational area that our people will be able to go into different things there. I agree. There are people who play basketball. So because now we get 8 years that has some problem, so we shouldn't create the sport park. Is that why you're telling me?
Okay, so we're running out of time. So we can't keep taking calls. We got only 5 minutes left. So Mr. Freeman will use the remaining time to respond to the callers where necessary.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to the many people that call with a diverse background. Those who agree, we thank you. Those who disagree, we also thank you. Mr. Yanti talked about these institutions that are established by law. Mr. Yanti, I think you also heard me say, yes, I recognize they're established by law, but they can be defunded. So maybe you can do yourself a favor and just listen to the audio again. Talking about the relevance of the park, like I said, people must learn to crawl before they walk. So when we get to that point where the critical core issues that challenges the future of our country are dealt with and or isolated, and of course you already have ETS that could have been renovated for probably half the size of the budget that was spent on the sports park. What policy could you? Okay, the banking sector. Yes, that's a very critical issue to the gentleman who raised that issue about the banking sector. It's a very critical issue, and I think maybe I could do something else for us to look at it. But one of the key ways to fund the banking sector will be public resources, because you see the resources that the bankers have, let's face it, is two money. One is depositors' money, two is their own resources, right? So if Mr. Trojan already have lost confidence in lending me money, you can force him to lend me money because it's a private institution. No central bank can go to a commercial bank and say, give Liberians money. It's their money. They have their board, they have their lending policy, but it must conform to the central bank guideline. So what is done in other countries is that's where you have this something called an affirmative action program. So the government of Liberia can find $50 million, $75 million and say, is for onward lending to Liberians only. But it doesn't mean because it's a loan that is given to the bank by the central bank. But to Liberian only doesn't mean that the bank will just loan it to anybody. But it creates that room, and it also creates a room where I remember when Mills Jones was governor, he came up with a housing loan, right? It was a small amount, but I think it was about $10-15 million. They came out with it and spread it among the commercial banks. And what they did was they had a limited interest rate. So then you tie the interest rate to about, say, 5%. Because that's a special lending, it's on an affirmative action program. So you will lend to Liberians in many respects. We could expand on that, but I've got only a minute left. Let me go to Mr. Dickinson on the issue of Zogos. I'll tell you what, Zogos are not a waste. Zogos need a job. This whole concept of training them and leaving them hanging, for me, doesn't work. I think once we create all of these factories, Zogos will be trained to work in a factory. You see, when your life is repurposed, it makes you have that sense of confidence. Now you can pay your rent, not by going to sit. Nobody wants to waste their life. So I think our youth empowerment program that deals with industrialization will be able to solve those problems. Again, fellow Liberians, Liberia is all we have. Because you support a ruling establishment or because you support somebody else should not blind your eyes to support what is right. We are availing ourselves to lead our country. We encourage you to work along with us because a better Liberian will be good for you and good for everybody else. It's been an amazing 1 hour. I want to thank the panelists and our sister stations who conveyed us and the online TVs that are here in the studio. Thank you. It's been an amazing 1 hour, and God bless. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. His name is Simeon Freeman. He's the political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change. Let me thank my colleagues for being a part of the panel. Fidel Saydee, thanks. Trojan Kazulu has been here as always on the Friday's edition of the Prime Morning Drive. Until I talk to you, it will be on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the working day. Enjoy the
Homie, Cape Mount, Wapulu, Mangibi, Boom, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
Hi there, you're with ABC Radio 105.1 FM.
Montserrado, Home, Cape Mount, Wapaloo, Mangibi, Boom, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM. I love ABC Radio.
This is the sound of radio, the world's most powerful media. 105.1 is your best dial.
Rovia, oh Rovia. Yes, Rovia Logistics is back. Have you been looking for a one-stop shop to rent and hire machineries of all types? Look no further. Rovia Logistics Incorporated is the answer. Rovia Logistics has wide range of machines like dump trucks to haul your sand, red dye, crush rocks, and border rocks.
As for your construction needs, do not worry. Rovia Logistics have all sizes of yellow machines to meet your desire. They have machines like bulldozers, compactors, excavators, forest machines, backhoes, and many more.
The interesting part is you get to hire them hourly, daily, or monthly. And that's not all. They also rent pickups of all types like Toyota Tacoma, Nissan Frontiers, Ford F-250, and they are equipped with all-wheel drive options for bad road conditions. Locate Rovia Logistics Incorporated right at the corner of McDonough and Carey Streets on the Kakata Highway, Copper Farm area in Fendel, around the University of Liberia campus, or locate our head office on Randall Street.
Contact Rovia Logistics on cell numbers 0777 874 231 or 0888-726-172. You can also email them on rovialib@gmail.com.
Better still, WhatsApp Rovia Logistics on 0777-874-231 or message them on Facebook, Rovia Logistics Incorporated. Rush now for quality services at affordable prices.
Gifty, where did you get the bricks you used to build your house? See how strong the bricks look.
I got them from Rovia Bricks. Do not tell me you have not heard about Rovia Bricks.
You mean they are located in Liberia?
Yes, Angie. Rovia Bricks is a division of Rovia Logistics Incorporated, and they offer a variety of concrete products for all your construction needs. They have 6, 7, 8, and 4 inches blocks. That's not all.
Tell me more.
Rovia Bricks have coverts for rows and well, cornerstones, Colombo blocks, yard tiles, sand, be it smooth, rough, and mixed. They even have red dye for land filling and crushed rocks of all sizes.
How can I get to them?
You can locate Rovia Bricks right at the corner of McDonough and Carey Streets on the Kakata Highway, Copper Farm area in Fendel, around the University of Liberia campus, or locate our head office on Randall Street. Call Rovia Bricks on 0777-874-231 or 0888-726-172. Email them on rovialib@gmail.com. Better still, WhatsApp them on 0777-874-231 or Facebook Rovia Logistics Incorporated.
I'm calling them right now for that man's swampy land. No time to waste.
Man, take it easy.
Bokonjida Group of Companies, a 100% Liberian-owned company with over 20 years of experience, is the name that stands tall in the microfinance, construction, and general services industries. At Bokonjida Group of Companies, we pride on character, integrity, honesty, confidentiality, and creditworthiness. Approved institutions or entities under the microfinance service include House of Representatives, Liberian Senate, General Services Agency, Financial Intelligence Unit, and General General Auditing Commission. Others include Governance Commission, Cooperative Development Agency, Ministry of Gender, Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, National Public Health Institute of Liberia, National Port Authority, Group of 77, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Our construction services include the construction of residential and commercial buildings, while the general services include apartment renter, apartment for lease, furnished apartments for short stay, general printing services, and a yard with swimming pool to host events. Bokon General Group of Companies is located on Capitol Hill in Monrovia. For more information, call us on cell numbers 0770-520-958 or 0777-017-603, or better still 0886-622-559, or email us at Bokonjida Group of Companies at gmail.com. Bokonjida Group of Companies. Nunde.
Wanna see all my people progress.
Perfume, they say, is the unseen, unforgettable, and ultimate accessory that makes elegance possible. Getting that smell requires a vendor of class. That's why I introduce to you the Palace of Fragrance in Liberia, Authentic Corner. Authentic Corner has the best brands of perfume, including Tom Ford, Chanel, Jimmy Choo, and Christian Dior. We also have Louis Vuitton, Roja, Armani, Mayaki, Creed, and a lot more. Authentic Corner also deals in the latest ladies and gents watches and sunglasses. All our products are first class and come from London, Italy, Paris, and the USA. We are open from Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. till the late evening hours. Contact us on 0770-681-804 or 0880-474-042. Better still, send us a WhatsApp message on +231-886-460-009. Visit our store in Fitch Market Sinker, opposite the Invisible Sports Park, and get that smell you deserve. Authentic Corner, the palace of good smell.
Montserrado, Home, Cape Mount, Wapulu, Mangibi, Home, and everywhere you go. This is ABC Radio 105.1 FM. HotLBR.com.
We